Well, everybody, welcome. Another Thursday night is upon us, and you have joined the one, the only Fun Speculation Network for another freaking amazing episode of PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM. That's right, every Thursday. It is August the 10th. Time is rolling on through 2023, one of the greatest years, if not the greatest year in the history of video games. And we may even talk a little bit about what's upcoming and this game of the year stuff going on and a whole lot more. But first things first, as you can see, it's not just Mav and I tonight. Oh, no. This is one of those crazy, phenomenal nights where we actually have a guest join us, and we've got a good one tonight. And as you all know, when we have a guest here, I got to do an intro, a proper intro, because he is a first timer here on PM in the PM. So let's go. When I say the name Insipid Ghost, I don't know about you, but my mind travels to various monster compendiums from video games I've played, or even the ever popular tabletop games like D&D. But our guest tonight is anything but some horrible undead nightmare of a fantastical world. No. He doesn't even fit his chosen moniker. First, let's take a look at this. Insipid. The definitions of insipid include lacking flavor, lacking vigor or interest, boring. And this content creator is the exact opposite of that. Second part, ghost. Our guest is in no way scary. He's quite visible, obviously, and he doesn't mysteriously move items around people's homes. Well, maybe Mr. Badbit's home, he does. Maybe, just maybe. So let's forget about that wildly inaccurate name tonight. We are joined by a man who at one point, and I quote, did color commentary part-time for the Railhawks professional soccer team, ran his own website, freelanced for Major League Soccer and others, had 100 plus episode podcast called Off the Bench, where he and another interviewed players from all three pro levels of soccer in North America. This man's experienced, let me tell you. Our guest is in fact a gentleman and a scholar. He's a gentleman in the way he handles the XEP channel. Just ask the numerous devs and community members he has interviewed. And literally, he is a scholar, as he has bravely been a real life public school teacher for quite some time now. Our guest is a positive beacon in this community who produces high quality gaming content, brings a wealth of knowledge and passion to every discussion. And maybe most importantly, this man has gallantly fought the villainous Joe, Mr. Badbit, boo, in an eternal battle over each other's mom's virtue. Chat, please put the clap emojis up as Mav and I are honored to introduce the host of Xbox Expansion Pass, Cast Co-op, and Creator Talk, which he graciously invited me on recently, the never dull but always spectacular Luke Lore, aka Insipid Ghost. Round of applause for this man tonight joining us. Luke, it's been a long time coming, brother. Thank you for being with me and Mav tonight on PM to PM. Appreciate you.
Oh, man, I am honored. That was an intro. You did your research, dude. Goodness.
I try,
Goodness.
brother.
I'm impressed right now. So
yeah,
I try,
man.
sir. How you been, Luke? What's been going on, man? Have you been gaming? You been doing anything fun? I know you've been doing your obviously channel. You're always doing something. You just had me on Creator Talk, but what else has been going on with you, brother?
Oh man, coaching the high school soccer team over summertime and getting back to work, getting ready for students starting on Monday. So
Nice.
busy guy, getting kind of ready for the silly season of games because there's so much kind of on its way. Which is cool. But beyond that, I went to the beach last week, took a little break. Then I did Creator Talk with you and put out an interview this morning with another developer. And man, here I am. Like I'm still in awe of the intro. I can't believe it, dude. You did your research. Wow. Yes.
You made it easy. You're very public. So that's easy.
Cool, man. All right.
Yeah. No, great. Got any gaming in lately or at all? What have you been doing? Anything?
A little bit here and there. I wrapped up Axiom Verge 2 because that hit Xbox recently. That was a fun game. I didn't quite hit the heights of the first one, which was cool. I've been doing a lot of Ninja Turtle stuff. I'm on the hype from the movie, so I've been cleaning up Cowabunga Collection and Shredder's Revenge. Really looking forward to that DLC. And then I checked out the turtle skins in Street Fighter 6, which coincidentally got me back into Street Fighter 6. So I've been enjoying that. Even though I've got some qualms with how they handled that.
So it's like
talk about that for a second, right? $15, right? $15 per skin.
Yeah, just around a little above under, because they do some weird things with their coins, but about $15 per skin. And on the front end, that doesn't sound like a lot, because like Fortnite will do something similar, right? And I'm a guy who spent hundreds of dollars in Fortnite over the course of years. The difference is, for me, when I look at Street Fighter 6, I don't think it's quite earned the accolades that Fortnite has, despite my love for Street Fighter. The skins are mode limited, meaning you can't play them in general multiplayer. They're only for avatar battles. You can use them in the single player kind of like create your fighter campaign, which is how I'm using it. So I'm basically playing a third person Ninja Turtle game, which is nice. But if you've already beaten it, there's no reason to do that. And the kicker is Street Fighter 6 is a full priced experience. Fortnite with its skins is a free to play experience. And so to play the fighter pass, the game proper, and then have skins, each skin being $15-20, you're spending the price of a game just to play as the 4 turtles. It's mode limited. You can't use them everywhere else. They don't have their own unique moves because it's just a skin. It's a costume for your avatar only. So there's some hiccups with how they handled it. I really think Capcom botched it in terms of the pricing, but the skins look really good in motion. They fit into cutscenes well. If your avatar is set up to where you enjoy playing as them, that's really fun. But it's just it's a pricing problem, I think.
Did you get all 4?
No. My wallet is not that gracious. I got one because I love the turtles and I wanted to share. Leo. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to share with listeners and viewers as much as anything, because while I love the turtles, I do think it's overpriced, but I also wanted them to see what they were getting. So kind of a balance. Like I wanted to play as all 4 at various points, but so it goes. So it
does. It's great insight though, because again, this is becoming more common for fully priced games to have this type of monetization. We just saw it in Diablo with their armor skins and that kind of stuff. Again, costing $15-20.
Was it Mortal Kombat, or was it Injustice where you could play as the turtles?
That was Injustice 2.
Yeah, Justice 2, right? And like you basically bought one character, or it came in the character pack, I believe. But you could like alternate between the skins for all 4 turtles.
Yeah.
Right?
So Injustice 2, which by the way, any listener, you can get that game on sale regularly with its full content packs and check it out. Injustice 2 set it up to where if you have the turtle character unlocked, purchased, a part of your bundle, whatever it was, you get all 4 turtles. And the way they handled their gear system in Injustice 2, you just switch gear for that turtle from sword to bow staff, and then you're suddenly from Leo to Donnie, that kind of thing. But they were really well done in Injustice, and they fit right in, had cool cutscenes and stuff. And I would encourage anybody, check out Injustice 2 if you haven't, because it's cheap, affordable, and I mean, NetherRealm doesn't miss. And Street Fighter 6 gameplay doesn't miss. The skin does look great. It's just the pricing problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Steel saying my mic's cutting in and out. You guys hearing that?
It's that fade out at the end I was telling you about, Pong.
It's still doing that fade out thing at the end?
It sounds like a software thing to me. Like it's software cleaning your voice, I thought. But I don't know.
Interesting.
What's weird is I haven't noticed it.
You haven't noticed it at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right.
But I don't really pay attention to anything you say anyway, so that's
I know you don't. Right. That's probably the problem. Exactly. All right. Let me try to cut out the software and just see if that works. All right. Anybody else now tell me if it's better or if you're still hearing that fade in and fade out, because I just cut off the software.
I think it sounds good. Yeah.
It does sound better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So then we'll stick to this right now. Perfect. Well, thanks, Luke, for all that information again. Welcome, sir. Appreciate you. I know you got it hard out at 2 hours, so we will cut the normal Mav and I chatter here, but I got to get to my co-host. I got to get to the one and only, the CEO of the Fun Speculation Network, the man who passed 4K this week on the channel in subs. Congratulations again, brother, on all the hard work you and Caitlin have been doing. But Mav, how's your week been, man? I know you've been getting into some things this week because I've seen it. So what's been catching your eye this week in video games, brother?
Well, I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3.
Sure.
Had some experiences. But it's hard to talk about because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. You know what I mean? Because some of the stuff is so random and like if you encourage them to find it, you're kind of spoiling that moment that they may accidentally come across. You know what I mean? And which kind of makes it special to the person. So it's kind of hard. I can just say there's one person that wants to remove a tadpole from you, and I highly encourage you to let them go all the way. Okay?
Pause and no.
As uncomfortable as it may seem, I highly encourage you to bear through it and take it the distance. It'll be a good time, I guarantee.
Oh wow. This does not sound good.
It's good. I promise. I promise. It's a little worrisome at first, but it's good. Okay? Besides that, I've been playing a little bit of Diablo, not as much because Baldur's Gate 3 has had most of my attention. I dove into another game just for a few minutes when I had a little bit of time earlier.
We're gonna talk
was
about
a
that.
sort of surprise. You can tell by the thumbnail what it is, but we'll talk about it later. But yeah, man, today was the first day of school for my daughter. So we had all of the fun shenanigans with that stuff. We had to meet the teacher yesterday and all that, and so it was interesting. You know, she's in like another like upper school now, so you know, growing up, and
You get emotional?
It's fun. No, when she was in kindergarten, I did like
Mhm.
when I first dropped her off to kindergarten, she like did not want to go in the room, and like she was like screaming and stuff, and I just like had to walk away. I was like crying then. That was bad. But
That's awesome.
besides that, no, it's been smooth sailing ever since then. But yeah, it was a good day for her. So I'm happy. That was a big thing going on around our house today. But yeah, man, just working and playing games. It's a great time to be a gamer right now because my God, the games that keep dropping are special. And Clover put out a tweet today that highlighted more that's around the corner, especially coming to Game Pass. I know we're gonna dive into that too, but like, dude, this next third of the year that we're going into right now, we talk about how amazing 2023 has been already.
Mm-hmm.
This next third of the year is probably the cream of the crop as well. So, dude, it's gaming glory. Like you say, the golden age of gaming is upon us, and I think finally, I can see like the Series X and Xbox ecosystem is like this for the Series X generation and Series S generation is starting to launch into the prime.
Correct.
Right. It's been in this kind of stagnant, like ups and downs period. I think we're entering the prime of it this year and going especially into the second half of what we have around the corner. So we'll talk about some of that. But yeah, how you been, Pong? You still in the Goblin camp? I know you like search every nook and cranny, like of everything.
Yeah, no, this is one of those games. This is where everybody else is already well beyond where I am because this is one of those games that I'm exploring. And no, I didn't even get to the main Goblin camp yet. I hit the outskirts in the Goblin town, ransacked that town. Well, of course, I'm friends with the Goblins because I'm Drow, so they don't bother me. So I stayed friends with them and then wound up finding the secret passage into the Underdark. And so I jumped to the Underdark before even going to the Goblin main camp. And again, don't want to give away too much because there are alternate routes. There are completely, separate side stories that you can completely miss on a playthrough. Like, and depending on what decisions you make as well is going to affect what you find and what you don't find. So I wound up in the Underdark earlier than a lot of people do. And it's absolutely incredible because I've read hundreds of Forgotten Realms, but well, I shouldn't say hundreds, but probably over 100 Forgotten Realms books. I know the Underdark, right? Drizzt Do'Urden is one of my favorite characters of all time. He's a Drow. And so for me, this is like experiencing my books in beautiful game form. Like what Larian has done here is nothing short of a masterpiece. This is officially now at this point, barring Starfield, my game of the year, easy over Diablo. It does have its issues. Mav, have you been getting crashes a lot or no?
I haven't had any crashes.
Okay, crashes are a problem. They're a known issue, especially in the Underdark. So if you are in the Underdark in certain parts of the Underdark, it's bad. Now they've been putting out hot fixes. Haven't fixed the parts where I'm at right now because I'm getting regular crashes, whether I use DirectX 11 or Vulkan.
Yeah.
I've tried both and still wind up with crashes. So there are some performance issues, no question about it. They need to fix them up. Larian's working on them. But again, the game itself is an absolute masterpiece. There has never been a bigger, more high budget CRPG ever produced, which again isn't saying a whole heck of a lot. But again, to see it in 2023 and the attention to detail, the writing, the acting, everything about this game is nothing but love to me. Like, this is exactly what I've always wanted in my RPGs. This brings me back to the classic days of BioWare. This brings me back to the older, CRPGs that Mav and I both enjoyed back in the day. It's unbelievable, but it's to a triple A level, which is unheard of in this genre. And so, yeah, man, I haven't been playing as much as you guys have. My nights have been really short. I've been trying to get better earlier. It's been a hellish week for me on real life. So, been really tired and stuff, but I have been progressing the story, making crazy decisions and having wild things happen. I made one last night that I think I'm going to wind up going back and changing because I was like, do I really want this to be the case? And I was like, I don't think so. That's the other thing about this game. The decisions you make in this game have dramatic effects on what's going to happen in the world. A lot of games claim that. Not every game pulls it off. Larian's pulled it off here. So I'm enjoying the hell out of Baldur's Gate 3. I haven't touched anything else. I haven't touched my Xbox in 2 weeks or week and a half ever since this game came out. I have not touched my Xbox at all. I have been plopping myself down right here in front of my PC and being PCMR for a change. So just a great time.
Isn't that the best feeling when you get so into it that you just immerse yourself wherever it is, whatever it is, and you're just in it? And doesn't that feel good?
It does. And I'm a grazer at heart, right? I usually have 10, 12 games going on at a time. Like, that doesn't bother me in the least. Games come along. Diablo 4 did it, obviously, for me. Hogwarts did it earlier this year for me as well. But games few and far between. Usually, in a normal year, I maybe get one or two if I'm lucky. Mm-hmm. This year, it's nonstop. And like this game, completely wiped off Diablo 4 off the face of the map for me. Like, I just want to play this game. And then come in a few weeks, Starfield, 2 weeks, Starfield's going to drop and I'm going to be fully into Starfield, like nonstop. And I'm going to have decisions to make on when I go back to Baldur's Gate 3. This has been that type of year. It's absolutely stunning what has happened here. We knew it. We knew there was potential. But the way that it's all lined up now, especially with the Baldur's Gate 3 dropping in the middle of everything, wow. What a hell of a year, man, for video games. So, that's been my week. But let's get down to business here because normally I'd shout out the chat at this point. Chat, listen, I see you all. I appreciate you all. You know how much we love you here. We're already over 100 people in the chat. Thank you all. Nice. Please hit that like button if you can. If you can, share it out. Let everybody know that Incepted Ghost, Mr. Luke Lore, is here tonight as a guest. Let's get some more people in here, but thank you all for being here. You know how much we love and appreciate you here at PM and the PM. Normally I do shout you all out, but tonight Luke's got a hard stop at 2 hours. So we're going to get down to business and let's talk about what Mav was hinting at, right? That happened today, right? Out of the blue. Well, not out of the blue because there was some smoke. There was some leaks. Mm-hmm. People knew this was coming.
There was a blazing fire.
There was pretty much a blazing fire. Let's be real. But it showed up today officially. So, we can count it as a shadow drop because they hadn't given us a date. And of course, we're talking about Quake 2, what do we want to call it? A remaster? We can call it.
We'll call it a remaster.
It's a remaster.
We'll call it a remaster. We'll call it a remaster. Yeah, it's a remaster of Quake 2, one of the classic games that, we've heard rumors they might be doing a full reboot of Quake at some point. Obviously, QuakeCon still exists and is one of the biggest cons around. That's how big Quake was. For all you younger folks who never got to know what Quake was in its prime, it was one of the top 3 shooters in that genre when it was at its peak. Easy, bar none. Quake is freaking amazing. So this remaster came out and dropped into Game Pass It's also available everywhere else. It's available on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4. It's available on Switch, and it's available on PC. And I believe, if I saw correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, $10, right?
I don't know the price because
I think they priced it at $9. I think they priced it at $9.99. Which is, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Game. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. So anyway, I'll just tackle this real quick. It's more than just a remaster though as well, because there is actually a new expansion.
Yes, they did add an expansion,
and they also added Quake
64
to it. And the other expansions that were launched with the original. I only had a time to play a few minutes just because I wanted to get an idea of like what kind of work they put into it. I was very impressed, dude. Like, yeah,
and
it's
really it's also got co-op, right, Mav? It's got co-op.
It's got multiplayer there, crossplay.
Crossplay is included, which is awesome.
This is how you do a remaster, right? Like you go all out, you put all this content, and then you make it affordable. And this is day one in Game Pass. Like, talk about bolstering
an expansion.
The year. Yes, and an expansion. Nobody saw that coming. I don't think that was part of the rumors, right? This is new content that was never part of the original game.
Nope. 4K, 120 frames per second on series consoles.
Yeah.
Crazy. Go ahead.
It's cool to me that it's hitting multiple consoles, and then Game Pass are getting it as a nice little boost as well. That it's got the expansion in there. There's a lot of love put into it. And we've seen remasters done well. We've seen them done poorly. We've seen them be just tossed out for an upgrade. Thinking of you, Red Dead.
You may talk about that.
Yeah, as like a cash grab. This doesn't feel like a cash grab. This feels like an ode to players, a love letter to Quake fans. And when you price it at $9.99, give it a nice little uplift on multiple platforms. Give it the expansion, and then if you're a Game Pass member, it's just right there for you right away. This really feels like remaster done right. Probably not quite to the level of like Digital Eclipse doing some stuff for collections, but it's definitely a love letter. And I really got to say, like, this is cool. It's a shame that it was leaked so heavily, because I feel like if the surprise element had been there for the podcasters, for the people that were tuned in, they would have been that much more excited. But for anybody that didn't see the smoke, and then they just log in and there it is, there's that game, there's that classic nostalgic vibe right there for you. I mean, what an awesome feeling to get 16:9 support, 4K graphics. The frame rates are smooth and buttery, and it's just there with new content you've never played before. That's a chef's kiss right there, big time.
What's your history with Quake, Luke? Do you have
any? Not much of one. The shame, I played it on PS1.
Sure.
PS1's Quake.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah, right. Like, that's not where you play Quake. But that was my experience with it. And so I don't believe I really put any time into the Quake 1 re-release from the last year, I want to say. It just came at the wrong time for me to put hands on. And I love Doom. Like, Doom is statues. I'm that guy. So it was a Doom or Quake for me as a kid. And it was just Doom. But like, after playing Bolt Gun, after seeing the love that Doom's been getting lately, and then seeing this type of stuff, it makes me think, do I want to become a Quake fan? And that's how you do it, you know?
Right. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And with that love that you have for Doom, I would highly recommend you jump into at least Quake 2 and try it. Quake 1's redo was, I mean, again, like you said, there's different levels, and these games are so old. Like, how much are you going to actually put into it? Because then it just becomes a remake, and then you're building the game from the ground up, because they are older. There's only so much you can do with them. Quake 1, I wasn't overly impressed with when they redropped it again. I did play it for a little bit, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Quake 2, like Mav was saying, and I'm going to get to here, Mav, because you got to try it out, and I want you to continue on with that conversation. Definitely looks like they've done more, like you said, Luke, to bring this up as far as it can in 2023, but to reintroduce it with the idea that potentially some of the smoke we are hearing that there is a Quake reboot down the road coming. This is how you do that. And like you said, Luke, for you personally, as somebody who may have missed it, there are generations who might have missed it. That's why I said, for folks who don't understand, you guys are too young, never got into Quake when it was in its prime. You don't realize how big it was, right? You just don't get it. So now here's a chance to go try it. Sure, it's not going to look like a 2023 game. Of course not. But it might play like a 2023 game. And again, the specs are saying it does 4K, 120 frames on your Xbox Series X or S. Even if you got an Xbox One right now, you can get it at 1080 60. Listen, that's a good experience. Go try out Quake 2 and see if you like it and start getting ready for what potentially could be a Quake reboot down the road. So, Matt, I want you to continue with the conversation because you got to try it for a short period. But I know, obviously, you have been in kind of a nostalgia phase lately. We got the Killer Instinct news last week. You were extremely hyped about that. And now here comes Quake 2, right? And yes, the fire was out there, like he said, but still to see it drop today, no fanfare really outside of, hey, here's a new trailer. Guess what? It's available now. Shadow dropped. Kind of exciting, man. So you think you're going to keep diving back into Quake 2? What do you think here?
I actually might, which is not something I usually do. I usually don't go back and play like the older remasters and stuff. You know, I like to kind of dive into them sometimes. It's like, oh, cool, I remember this. This was fun. But I dove in a little bit earlier just to get a feel because I wanted to see like the visuals, how the game feels, like what kind of effort was put into this. And from the get-go, even like with the cutscenes going into the gameplay, I was like, okay, they really put a lot of work into this. Like, this is not just like it feels like you mentioned bolt gun earlier, Cole. Luke. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I think Cole. They have the same color hair, sort of. I guess I don't know.
Take that, Colt.
Yeah, no, they. You mentioned bolt gun earlier, and bolt gun I did play as well. And I didn't finish it, but
it's a long game.
Yeah, it's a really impressive game too. It's really fun.
Yeah,
but this, like, there are games that look like this that come out today, right? Because they feed on that nostalgia train of the classics like the Quake 2s and the old Doom games and the Wolfensteins and stuff like that, right? So there's continuously some games coming out like this. There was the other one, the Metal Hellsinger, even though it's rhythm based, it's very similar in a lot of ways to that too. And this holds up for me based on what I played with the new games that are coming out that are trying to mimic the old school stuff, right? It feels really fluid. Graphically, it's pretty solid. Like it's super smooth, and there's a lot of content here, dude. There's a ton of content for $10.
Yes,
like that's crazy. It's crazy what they're giving you for $10 with what I can tell the amount of effort that they had to put into this package. And not only that, if you're in Game Pass too, but then you add on top of that, like the crossplay and the co-op stuff and all these other things that like we may have not gotten to enjoy that stuff before, you know. So I'm super impressed with what I saw. Again, it was only a short, brief period. I don't know how many issues there are with the game. If there's like issues with, I saw some people say there's some crashing issues or whatever on one article and stuff like that. So I haven't like greatly tested like a lot of that stuff, but just what I saw when I was playing was extremely impressive. So I highly recommend it. And this one I will be probably diving into because it felt that good. I mean, it's got all the mechanics of more modern shooters too, because you can jump and you can crouch and all these other things. You can look up and down. You're not just side to side. So it feels really solid. And I can see this kind of taking off. So based on the amount of people that might have access to this game as this fun little shooter that people start diving back into. And that may sound crazy, but I saw people streaming it today. I even saw David Jaffe playing it today on stream and stuff. And like, they were having a blast, dude. So I could see people getting back into this and kind of having some kind of a little bit of a Quake resurrection.
Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. We know that. It just depends how long that high lasts, right?
Yeah,
and that's what we never know.
Nostalgia, like, yes, but it doesn't feel old.
That's what I was just about to say. With Quake 2, with what they've done to it, though, with the multiplayer and the co-op, now you give the chance to have some legs, right? Because if people do jump back in to the multiplayer with the updates that they've done, with obviously the fidelity and the frame rate, and all of a sudden this becomes a competitive type scenario where people realize yet again how great Quake was, how ahead of a time of it was as a shooter, and all of a sudden are starting having fun with it because it's different than a lot of games we see nowadays. You're different than your Call of Duties. It's different than your Fortnites. And all of a sudden, a little community forms around the multiplayer again for Quake 2. Right. Yes, I definitely could see why you're saying it, but potentially could have some legs. I don't disagree with that here in this case. So I think it's going to be interesting. I'm excited for it. Again, if Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't here, I'd hop into it instantaneously. You guys know me. I love my Game Pass games. I love going back and trying older games again, especially games that have been redone like this. Like Mav, everything Mav is saying to me is speaking my language again, that this is more than just a simple, hey, let's throw this out there at the wall and see if it sticks. This was actually done with care and love, right?
Yeah.
Like Luke was saying, we see other companies that aren't like that, that are trying to go for cash grabs. But we've also seen some really good, titles come back that have received the treatment that they deserve. And Quake does deserve it.
Yeah.
And like I said, Microsoft and Xbox are planning on bringing back and rebooting Quake at some point. This is what you got to do. You got to give people the best experience they can on the older games, start ramping up that hype, that name, get it back out there again for the folks that maybe, again, didn't play it before. And then you come out with that reboot, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, look at this. Now we're in 2023. Look at this new Quake. So I think that this is a great job. Price point is the chef's kiss. Again, $10. It's appropriate. Okay.
It's an impulse buy.
It's
easy to do. And it rewards your subscriber base in Game Pass. I'd be curious to know how involved Xbox was in this, because I mean, it's on all platforms, which is good. I'm supportive of that, but I'm curious to know if they encouraged it, if it was already fully in the works. Did they help with it at all? Because it's a legacy title now. The next iterations will be affecting Xbox. So do you want to build that consumer good base? It'd be neat to know that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I imagine these are the types of decisions where we do see that Bethesda does still control a little bit of their destiny. Obviously, they probably had to get the okay. I mean, Bethesda's not just out here cutting deals without, Phil and everybody else stamping it. But I do think that the way that Phil does treat the legacy titles, the way that Phil feels about making sure that older games and that history of video games is alive and well, no matter how far down the road we get. Again, we see that time and time again. I think that this shows through in these types of scenarios where he's like, yeah, Quake 2, yeah, put it everywhere. That's great. Just put it out there. Get it out to everybody. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, again, would care about that. In fact, it might even actually embrace it. Like, this is a love letter to Quake fans. Like you said earlier, Luke Eastwood.
Thank you.
I'm just kidding.
He should be so lucky. No, I'm just kidding.
No, this is definitely a love letter to the Quake fans. And I think with a game like this, the more people that have access to it, and clearly they could have charged more for this if they wanted to. They could have charged easily $20 and it would still have been a hell of a deal. I would argue with what I saw, the amount of content that's there and the quality that I felt, I think they could have gotten 30 for it and it would have still been a good deal. Like $10 is just insane, actually, kind of deal for this game. It holds up there with other games that are releasing, that are brand new games that are releasing for 30, 40 bucks, that are similar genre, right? And this doesn't feel old at all. It feels new. It feels restored. And it's fantastic. So dive in, check out Quake 2 again.
Yeah, get it. Real quick, Matt, before we kind of jump into the second half here and kind of what Cloverio laid out as far as Game Pass coming up and just the overall second part of this, which we had a conversation about a month ago, Matt, where we covered the entire second half. But
yeah, things
are really lining up nicely. But before we do that, let's stay here real quick because Luke brought it up. And I want to get Luke's thoughts on it. I want to get your thoughts on it, Matt, because something else happened this week with the Redfall situation, right?
Red
we
Dead.
got Red Dead, Redfall. Jeez. Yeah, let's not go back to Redfall. Red Dead. Thank you, sir. Red Dead situation, right? So we knew this Red Dead stuff was coming. And then we get obviously we find out that this is simply a port to the PlayStation 4 and the Switch, because there's obviously no backwards compatibility for PlayStation 5 because Red Dead 1 was originally brought out on the PlayStation 3. And we know that they can't seem to figure out a way to get those games to work because of the cell processor. And obviously, they're bringing it to Switch for the first time. So Red Dead 1 and obviously Red Dead, the Undead Nightmare expansion is included in this. But they came out with this. Everybody found out that it was pretty much a simple port, a few updates, but it looks like the Xbox's backwards compatibility with the upres and the frame boost is actually still going to be the better version of this game potentially. And that was free, right? They're charging $50. And when people found out they were going to charge $50 for this, the internet broke loose. And people obviously still have a bad taste in their mouth from the Grand Theft Auto trilogy that Strauss and Take-Two released upon the world, right? Which was awful. And we were just talking about the care and love that was put into Quake 2 of all games, right? Mm-hmm. To bring it more current. And they come out with a price point of $9.99. And to make matters worse, Strauss, and I like Strauss. Again, if I owned a company, who I'd want to lead my company if I was looking for my shareholders' interests would be Strauss Zelnick. Dude is intelligent. The dude gets it. But he comes out and is quoted as saying, this is the $50 is commercially accurate. Listen, you want to pour gasoline on a fire, that's fine, Strauss. Go ahead and do that. But how can this man come out and say this is commercially accurate when his own company, Take-Two, released a Mafia remake built from the ground up, which is absolutely amazing. If you guys haven't played the first Mafia, the remake, unbelievable game. Carve some time out in your schedule and go play Mafia, the remake. When that launched, it was $39.99. Built from the ground up.
Yeah.
And then we saw EA of all places, right? Launch the Mass Effect trilogy, right? The Legendary Edition. And they gave us all 3 games and they were remastered, right? They were remastered, but they were done extremely well. In fact, Mass Effect 1 is the best playing version you could ever play. They did a lot of work for the controls, did a lot of work on the visuals as much as they could without changing engines, all that stuff. They put EA of all places, put tons of time and effort. 3 games. 3 of the greatest games of all time. Yes, I consider Red Dead 1 one of the greatest games of all time, but 3 of the greatest games of all time for $60. Treated it with the respect it deserves. Here we got Rockstar releasing a GTA trilogy, not respecting what those games meant for that company, what those games meant to the gamers that played them, Vice City being my favorite Grand Theft Auto of all time, and simply just throwing it out there as a cash grab, in my opinion. They've already done that once. They saw the reception to it. Now they take another one of their great franchises, Red Dead 1, that deserves love and respect for what it did for them and what it means to gamers. And it seems like we're getting another one of these. What do you think, Luke?
Oh, man. It's so the commercially viable part and the way that they handled it is very frustrating. On the one hand, logically, you're getting one of the best games ever made. And it's an incredible expansion for $50. On the surface, that looks good, right? On the surface, we're excited about that. That's not something to be upset over. But when you look at how they've handled a number of other things lately, it takes you away and out of the experience. I'm very disappointed that Rockstar has chosen to word it this way, if that makes sense. And I don't know if I'm making sense in that, but you guys froze on my screen. Are you guys there?
I'm here. I can see you. I can't.
Okay.
Pong is frozen.
Okay. Pong froze. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll keep going.
Am I frozen on your screen?
No, you're still moving,
Okay.
but it was throwing me off. I was trying to power through and I'm like, I wasn't fixing it.
Yeah, I was just noticing that too. But yeah, he's at MIA right now. So it'll just be the 2 of us till he gets back.
No worries. So it's frustrating to me to see that because on the one hand, content, you're getting a lot for $50, but the reality is it feels predatory and that you're getting it to gamers in a way that this should have been a $20, $25 thing. And that's about it. Yeah. That's what it should have been. Simple as that. because there are better ways, as Pong eloquently and correctly pointed out. We've seen better remasters, we've seen better collections, better ways to bring massive amounts of content to different audiences. Not to mention, Xbox gamers can go on eBay or go to their local game store, or if they still have the disc, or even digitally right now on the Xbox store for $30. Xbox gamers can get the absolute best version of this. So it's disappointing to me that it is not a real remaster within the Red Dead 2 engine, because we know that map existed in game.
Yep.
It's disappointing that we're not getting more, but there's no loss on the Xbox side for Xbox consumers.
Right.
It's just funny to me that they're selling this for $50 when for $30 right now on Xbox you can have a better version of it.
Right.
This is a game for people that didn't already play the game or that are desperate to have it on their Switch. But the reality is your best bet is to buy it $30 digital on Xbox Store, or go get a disc somewhere with your back compat. It's a testament to how good the back compat program is, which is a nice reminder of that. I saw Jason Ronald responding to a couple tweets. I saw a couple like tongue-in-cheek posts from Xbox hardware people, and it's a nice testament to the kind of unsung heroic work that a lot of the Xbox people do that I think gets unrecognized, except in cases like this. I think the uproar was louder than it needed to be from some communities, but calling them out for what I think is a little bit of a predatory bit. And I think we're all really upset that it wasn't a real remaster. And that's
Correct.
really where a lot of this comes from.
Yeah.
You know?
No, absolutely.
Nice.
I think you're spot on.
That would have been worth
it's nice to see your face moving, by the way, Pong.
What?
It's nice to see your face moving. It was very terrifying.
Yeah, no, my internet had a complete hiccup there. So
I was
thank
worried
God it
it
didn't
was
last
me.
long. No,
I was worried it was me, so I was like trying to power through. I sounded like I was vamping. It was terrible. I was like, I don't know what's happening.
No, it was definitely me. Everything went down and came right back up. So thank God it wasn't very long. No, I agree with you. I think that a lot of the disappointment comes from the fact that this isn't. It's another example. Like I said, coming off the GTA trilogy, and then seeing Red Dead have the same thing happen to it. In a lot of people's eyes, just not being given the full glow up that it should probably have, right? That it deserves. And
it is a top 5 game ever made. Easily.
It's a go for me.
Humble brag, guys, and I'm just gonna really make this about me for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
I have the Redeemer achievement for Red Dead 1, which means I 100% of that game.
Yep.
Love Red Dead 1. Just fantastic.
It is.
Game. If anyone hasn't played it, play it. Get it on back compat and go, because it is
absolutely an Undead Nightmare, for all of its issues, is one of the greatest DLCs ever released.
Definitely.
It's freaking phenomenal. Matt, what do you think about this $50 and about Strauss? Again, we like Strauss. I've used Strauss a bunch of times to talk about video games in the industry because, again, the man knows what he's talking about, but seems like he didn't read the room on this one too well. That this was a commercially acceptable, commercially viable, whatever you want to say.
Commercially
$50
accurate is what I think.
Accurate. Thank you. Yes. Right. Commercially accurate. Thank you. I just forgot what my quote was. Commercially accurate price point for a port.
Well,
man, he could have checked eBay. Sorry, I got excited.
No, I have Amazon up right now as Xbox One X enhanced version of Red Dead Redemption Game of the Year edition, $24.99 for that edition. 4K Ultra HD, all the stuff. It's the best version out there, right? So yeah, go ahead, Luke.
Sorry. Well, I just say I see people in chat saying like, well, the game is worth 50. Yes, that's not the argument. That's not the discussion. The discussion is he's saying it's commercially accurate when you can get a better version in a number of places for far less. That's the difference, I think, because I agree, worth $50. That's an incredible video game. That's not the discussion and the argument point. So I just think that's worth noting.
Commercially accurate, maybe, for those who it was released to. Nintendo Switch and PlayStation owners who are used to paying high prices for lackluster remasters. And if you want to go to the Switch, I mean, look at some of their 4K updates on some of their games, classics that they've released for $60 as well. Commercially accurate comparative to the markets in which this game is being pitched to, maybe. So maybe that's where he's going. Luckily, on Xbox, there is a strong backward compatibility in the ecosystem that prevents things like this from happening. That is a good thing. And PlayStation used to believe in backwards compatibility a long time ago, very strongly, and it's unfortunate for them that this is a PS3 game, because that's the wholesale architecture, all that stuff is probably what's preventing them from being able to have the same kind of situation as Xbox. As far as Switch consumers, they get screwed all the time and just happily accept it, right? So I think it's just like, hey, you know what? Here you go. If you want it, buy it. We'll be happy to take your $50. You can see in a couple years this thing will be just as cheap as the 360 versions, in the Xbox One and X enhanced versions as well. But right now, for them, they're just taking advantage of the consumers that are willing to buy it, that have been missing out all these years. So it's a master stroke move by Strauss. I think it's dirty. I don't like it. I mainly, like you said, Luke, like I'm mainly upset that it's not. They could have put forth an effort to do a actual remaster or a remake or something, and then charge $50 and put it everywhere. Put it on PC. Put it on PlayStation. Put it on Xbox. Switch probably couldn't handle a remake of that, but maybe a slight remaster of it or whatever. You give them that version. I still think they need to update Red Dead Redemption 2 on current gen consoles as well. Remember, there was rumors that there was plans of that at some point, and then that had been potentially canceled after the GTA debacle as well. So I think for them, this was just like, hey, why not? It did hurt also that there was a lot of rumors about it, because people saw this and nobody could fathom that they would pull something as slimy as this, right? We all assumed it was going to be a remaster or something. So I can't blame them for seeing this or getting a hint of Red Dead Redemption coming out again or something and thinking it's going to be a remaster, because who does this, right? I mean, I guess they do. That's a new thing, like releasing a really old game again on platforms because they don't have good backwards compatibility and taking advantage of the consumers, and they're paying the price for it. So, I know that for some reason PlayStation's never been able to figure out the emulation stuff that Xbox had to last generation with the 360. Remember, 360 wasn't originally backwards compatible on Xbox One. They had to go and do that work. They had a whole team do it, and that was a big separate point. And at that time, it's like, nobody plays old games. Nobody cares about old games. Who plays old games, right?
Of course.
You're paying the price now. If you want one of the best games of all time, you're going to have to pay more for it, because game preservation does not exist for that generation of consoles on the platform unless you like playing in the cloud, which may be an option, but I don't think that game's even available for that, because that's up to Take-Two, right?
Take-Two, right.
And I don't think they would do that. So, they're going to take your $50. And it is what it is. Sorry, guys. It sucks. Maybe if PlayStation put effort and got a good emulator running on their PS5s and PS4s,
why would they do that? Nobody plays old games.
Problem. It is cool to see the backward compatibility program consistently reward its gamers. Those go on sale regularly, a lot of the old 360 games, and they wouldn't keep doing that if it wasn't paying dividends.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still hope they green light or find a way to keep bringing it back, or to give access to some of the games that we didn't get in there. And the truth is, a lot of that's a licensed stuff. I know the logic in it, but it's still like, I look at my shelf and I have a 360 for the exact reason that I can't play certain games, most of them superhero stuff, because I'm a big dork.
Same.
But I miss that. And as we see talk of the Hasbro Transformer stuff and the possibility of bringing those back, it makes me wish for the old Spider-Man games to come back. It makes me wish for a lot of the licensed stuff. You know, Nickelodeon and TMNT have really kind of rekindled a lot of love. Maybe those old games come back in some ways, like the 360 era ones. In general, nobody plays old games is a narrative that consistently gets thrown out there and
Mhm.
tossed right back because
Right.
companies make so much money on them.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Even
remarkable.
even 4 or 5-year-old games like PlayStation, they like to remake those
Yeah.
too.
Oh, are
Um,
we all excited for another Last of Us 2 remake?
yeah. Got to fill the gap somehow.
Yeah.
I'll end it here with Strauss. A quote from 2 years. Shout out to Legacy Killer HD on Twitter, who found this old GameSpot article just 2 years ago. Strauss said, "What we've done differently than the competition is we don't just port titles over. We actually take the time to do the very best job we can, making the title different for the new release." Strauss,
Really?
Strauss, you want to retract your statement, sir? I know it wasn't under oath, but do you want to retract that? Because,
Well,
I long
GTA, they made it worse.
they made it worse. It was basically the mobile version. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I long for the days of the old Rockstar. And I know that's wishful thinking. I know it's big business, and I know Take-Two is no longer in the position they were back then as far as, what's required from the shareholders nowadays. And GTA 5 changed everything for them. But somebody else put a big graphic up this week too, man. I don't know if you saw it, of the timeline of Rockstar games. And the past 10 years without DLCs, we've gotten 2 games, right? GTA 5 and Red Dead 2, right?
Yeah.
Those have been the 2 games from Rockstar. The previous 10 years to that, I counted them, and I didn't even include like Grand Theft Auto. What was the PSP games? The group of them that came over.
Liberty City
Liberty
Stories.
City.
Liberty Cities. Yeah, I didn't even count that in there. The previous 10 years they had put out, I think without the DLC and the other stuff, it was 14 games.
Yeah. I mean, you had the Rockstar table tennis. You had,
Right.
You had a couple of midnight clubs in there.
Yep. You had the Max Paynes. You had the Max Paynes. You had games like Oni, which was done by Bungie, published by Rockstar. You had all this stuff. I long for those days again. And I understand, but Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto 5 Online specifically, and everybody who has contributed to that money printing machine, that's why we don't get stuff from Rockstar.
Yeah. They also did that era, the 360 era and the PS3 era, they did the best expansions for their games also. Like Red Dead Redemption had what some think is the best expansion of all time, and Undead Nightmare. Then they had the I think 3 expansions for GTA 4. They had like Ballad of Gay Tony, and
which is considered one of the best GTA
also.
DLCs of all
GTA
time.
4 was fantastic also, and they had 2, I think 1 or 2 more. I can't remember the names of all of them, but that was a lot of content, story-based content, like high-quality content that people were loving. GTA 5 hit. It became that money-making machine once they got on the online going, because remember, online didn't launch with GTA 5, right? That came later. Once they got the online going, it just became stronger and stronger and stronger, and people kept buying the game generation after generation. We're 3 generations into GTA 5 now. Like, the game holds up. I'm not complaining about GTA 5. It's fantastic, right?
They've done the work on it. They've put the care and love into that game. They just don't want to do it for any of the other.
Yeah, and that's what frustrates me the most about Red Dead 2 is because I've seen how much they put into GTA 5 over the last decade. And they have one of the, like, to a lot of people, like, and I'm with you, Luke, like, Red Dead 1 was like one of my favorite games of all time, right? Mm-hmm. And Red Dead 2 is also one of my favorite games of all time. I think Arthur Morgan is like one of the best written characters of all time. I absolutely love the story in Red Dead 2. And they had Red Dead Online. It's super fun. It's great. The problem is they never supported it in any kind of way like they did with GTA 5. And you could say, well, because the players weren't there. They had to get those players in GTA 5 over time. They've completely wasted an opportunity with Red Dead here, and they won't even give us one update to that. Like they've given us 3 massive updates to GTA. Like it's putting all of your eggs too much into one basket, like happens to too many publishers, right? We've seen this happen with Ubisoft, with Assassin's Creed. Now it's like everything Assassin's Creed, and now Rockstar's obviously doing this with GTA. And it's just I would love to see them prop up their other franchises because they are special. I have the same problem with some other games, like the Arkham series too. Like, I got frustrated. They recently announced, "Oh, Arkham trilogy coming to Switch."
Switch.
Like,
Yep.
God, like
Yep.
if your name as a studio starts with Rock, you need to start thinking about making some different decisions. Okay, like, I don't understand some of the thought processes because yeah, you're making a killing and you're doing great with one thing, but if you just solely focus on that, I think it's dangerous for the long term aspect of these companies as well, because if and people lose interest in something, it can happen at any time.
So Activision Call of Duty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happened there, right? And again, you can say whatever you want to, but they said it was no longer tenable to continue down this path with Call of Duty. That's, on
Right.
top of all the other massive human problems that they had, obviously, that they were frankly internally trying to figure out how they were going to get out of this Call of Duty thing, not get out of it, but
The cycle was a problem.
the cycle was the problem. And again, when you got shareholders, every year is expected certain numbers, you got to hit them, you got to do something. And this is the problem that you do wind up that Matt was just talking about. It's crazy to me is Rockstar treating Red Dead 2 as if it was a fail, or as if it wasn't a giant success. That thing has already sold 45 million copies in its lifetime. 45 million copies. Why could you, even if you weren't going to support the online, why would you not do another Undead Nightmare 2? Why would you not do some DLC for it? Why would you not give the players who absolutely love that game more? Why would you not simply do an update and give everybody the 60 frames that it deserves? Again, those things, when you have massive success at this level, we've seen it for lesser games from other companies. A company like Take-Two, Rockstar, that is printing money. You don't think you could have a small team just do a little bit of work on some of this stuff? Like, that's what always infuriates me when I look at this stuff. I hate it.
Instead, they're just going to put the old game on other platforms and overcharge them. That's how they're going to make the money.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. All right. I think it's enough talk there. Good conversations, though. I didn't even expect it to get that big, but Luke, thank you for your conversation, sir.
Yeah.
Great takes, and Mav, awesome job there. Again, it is something we should discuss because I'd like to see companies just do better when it comes to their franchises that really put them on the map. The love and respect's got to be there. Mav, I know you wanted to get into this because we were talking about this with Quake 2, shadow dropping. You and I are enjoying the hell out of Baldur's Gate 3 right now. Starfield is right around the corner. This has already been, some of us believe, probably the greatest year in video game history already. And we haven't even gotten to some of the meat coming up during the holiday season. And you were talking about, Matt, specifically, Clobril, shout out to Clobril, always doing great work out in this community, posting stuff. He put up a graphic, and Mav, if you got a different one than this, let me know. Send it to me. But I did pull the graphic from Clobril where he said Game Pass day one, and he said amazing upcoming weeks on Xbox Game Pass. And he listed out the games, and these are obviously not all the games, but these are just some of the highlights coming to Game Pass from now until October. So we got August 18th, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, which I watched actually people playing it on PC when they were doing like their open kind of testing of it. And I know people are posting it everywhere. There's going to be a section of people who absolutely fall in love with this game. This game is that horror game that people are going to be playing, especially the fall time. It's one of those games. So that's coming to Game Pass. Then we got Sea of Stars, one of the most highly touted indie game RPG, classic JRPG style games, right? To come out in a while. Sea of Stars has gotten a lot of hype, and deservedly so. Sea of Stars is dropping into Game Pass on August the 29th. So that's already a couple weeks. This month, we're getting some more Game Pass games on top of Quake 2 just dropping, shadow dropping. and of course, all the other ones that have already been announced. September 6th, of course, is Starfield. So if you're not getting the early access, if you're not buying the deluxe copy, right? September 6th is the official launch date for Starfield. My God, one of the games that we have talked about nonstop because I'm one of the biggest Bethesda fans around. Matt's a huge Bethesda fan. Game has gotten so much hype. We were the Marchers, right? We believe this game was going to come out in March. I can't believe we're finally here. It's coming out September 6th. We've got Starfield. Unbelievable. I'm going to be playing that game in just a matter of weeks at this point. I just can't believe it. September 16th, Lies of P. All you Souls fans out there, and there's a lot of you now. Lies of P showing up out of the blue, right? Last year during Gamescom, right? That's where we got it. All of a sudden, Lies of P. Oh, Pinocchio, Souls-like game, retelling an old story that most of us know, a childhood story, but making very dark, very, very dark, putting a new spin on it. Oh, by the way, that's coming to Game Pass as well, September 16th. Another game that you don't have to put out the money for if you don't want to. September 20th, we got Party Animals. Everybody remember Party Animals? How long ago did we see Party Animals? Like 2 years ago, right?
Maybe longer. I think it was 2020.
It might be.
2020's.
Bro, remember when we saw it? We were all like, what is this game? And we were laughing because it looked so funny. We were like, oh my God, the Fun Spec family is going to be playing this game. And then it disappeared. And the devs went dead silent. And now, finally, Party Animals is coming September 20th. Guess what? Game Pass still. They had the deal in place. It's dropping. Payday 3. You can laugh at Payday all you want. You can say nobody plays Payday, but I'll tell you something, people play Payday. Payday is still a big franchise. There are still people who regularly go back to Payday all the freaking time. The fact that Xbox pulled this out and got Payday 3 in a Game Pass is an understated move. It really is. It's underrated. This game is going to be big come September 21st. Yes, I know all of us Starfield fans are going to be playing Starfield nonstop, and we're not going to even look at this stuff, but there's still millions and millions of other people who don't care less about Starfield, surprisingly so, but that's true. They're going to jump into multiplayer games. They're going to be playing all these other games. Payday 3 is a big get for Xbox. Then October 3rd, the Lamplighters League, a game that Mav and I both are looking forward to. Don't know when I'm going to get to it. We'll see where I'm in Starfield. That's a month after Starfield drops. We'll see how far I am. But Lamplighters League, tactical strategy game, beautiful, gorgeous graphics. It looks like Indiana Jones in a lot of ways. I can't wait for the Lamplighters League. Another get. Again, diversity of games here too. That's another thing everybody needs to be aware of. Diversity of games. Not all one style. They're all different. October 3rd, Lamplighters League. October 10th, of course, Forza Motorsport finally gets to us. It gets in our hands. Mav will be playing that nonstop day one. I am positive he's definitely going to be jumping into that. Again, sim racing fans, call it a niche, call it whatever you want to, doesn't matter. Forza, the king of the racers, has been for a very long time, is dropping their latest one after an extended period of dev time with a brand new engine, ray tracing on track, all these extra features. They're starting to drop the different tracks that we're going to get. They're starting to drop the cars that we're going to get. It looks phenomenal already, the quality of content that we're getting in this game. Forza is going to be gigantic come October 10th. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games between now and October 10th. Big games coming into Game Pass. Luke, when you hear these names of these games coming to Game Pass, we know there's more out there. Again, we're focused here solely on what Clover kind of put out there, but we know there's more stuff out there. After the year we've already had, right? And not just Xbox, right? Every place has had a phenomenal year. But when you hear these games specifically come to Xbox and Game Pass, what do you think the second half of the year means for Xbox? And how do you feel about the games, not just the games showing up on Xbox, but everywhere? Does this close out as one of the greatest years of all time or the GOAT of all time? What do you think?
I think it is the best year of gaming of all time. I mean, when you look at the first half of the year, not to avoid your question, but in the first half, for Xbox gamers, the Persona games came to Game Pass. Monster Hunter Rise was in Game Pass. Hi-Fi Rush Shadow dropped. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition hit consoles. And then next to Game Pass and just that early window, you had games like Dead Space Remake, you had Hogwarts, you had Atomic
Resident
Heart
Evil
come into
4 remake.
Atomic Heart came into Game
Yep.
Pass. Wolong
Yep.
came into Game Pass. Resident Evil
Yep.
4 hit regular. Then you had first party Ghostwire Tokyo, which is
Yep.
I get a little asterisk on that. But Minecraft Legends, you had Dead Island 2, Jedi Survivor, Street Fighter 6, Diablo, all of that hit the first half of the year. And then in the second half, we kicked it off with Atlas Fallen, which hit mixed reviews. But then you see Clobriel's graphic. And again, I'm a little bit biased in that I see Sea of Stars, not because I'm truly interested in that kind of game, but I've had Thierry, the lead dev on XEP twice at this point. Consider him one that I talk to and know kind of well.
Right.
It's cool to see Sea of Stars getting a lot of love in social spaces. It's hitting Game Pass, it's hitting PS Plus. And I think that's a game that's going to generate some interest in a year where the reality is it probably shouldn't, because it's buried at August 29th, and then Starfield's a week away, so reviewers are already playing Starfield. Cough. Like quite a few I think are already hands on with it.
Yep.
Yep. I'm not, just to be clear. I didn't want to make it sound like I was in there. That is not me.
If you are, Luke, we got to talk after. So okay. Otherwise I'm gonna be mad.
But then to see a game like Lies of P drop in there, that is such a gift to those whose wallets are hurting from this incredible year, right? Because that's gonna be kind of like Wolong in the sense that it's a love letter to Souls games, but it's its own thing. Cool, love that. While we wait for the Elden Ring DLC, then again, continuing with this graphic, but competing with the likes of Mortal Kombat and Phantom Liberty. If your wallet's not there for you, you got Payday 3 to check out, Starfield to check out. That's such a gift. Lamplighters League, I think, is going to be really unique. Yes. I'm curious because it reminds me, not in gameplay, but of kind of the last case of Benedict Fox. There's a lot of people that are really interested in it. It's got a unique art style, and I think it's going to find its audience, and Game Pass is going to help it find its audience. And then, with just a month and change away from Starfield, which is probably going to be the year's biggest release, Spider-Man, Jedi Survivor, Diablo, Baldur's Gate, because we're gamers, right? And it's Zelda. What have you done for me lately? And our memories are short. Yeah, Zelda. Yep, thank you. And you've got a Mario game this year. Mario is, oh my God, look at this one. I have it all written down. Mario is October 20th. Yep. Game Pass gamers are in a nice, unique position, I think, thanks to Clobriel's graphic and just the release dates. Their wallets are eased, and they are given content to play, and not just content, but like you said, Pong, diversity of content. Yes. So if you're budget gaming this holiday, if times are tight and you just have Game Pass, you're still eating well. And if your budget's not hurting, then your time is gone because there's no way to play all of this. I love seeing Game Pass gamers be rewarded, because I think Game Pass is doing very well, but it was adopted slower than I expected. I thought they would have crossed the 35 million mark faster, right? Yep. But also when you have no exclusives for a year,
2022 really hurt.
Really hurt. But also, if that's the worst year that we have, we're okay, because we got a lot of ongoing content there. And but realist of real talk, I think this is a year where Game Pass kind of turns a corner, where Xbox turns a corner. And we thought it was going to be with Redfall. It's not. But in the wake of the ABK deal kind of finalizing, Starfield and Forza Motorsport releasing, the first half of the year for 2024 looking like Hellblade, and Avowed. By the way, ask me tomorrow what I think the first half of the year, and I'll give you a different game because I'm not sure. But I think Hellblade is earlier in the year. Game Pass gamers are being rewarded for being subscribers consistently with shadow drops, but with also a nice long-term outing, which is really cool. If you had nothing but Game Pass this year, then you got to play Wolong. You got to play the Persona games. You got to play
Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah, man. Yeah. You mentioned shadow drops, right?
Yeah, you got to play so much. And the marketing might have been skewed on Atomic Heart, but I'm told that's a very good game, and a lot of people did enjoy it. There's a lot of Russia controversy, which is really interesting, by the way, kind of what happened, didn't happen with that. And then we're seeing at Gamescom Stalker 2, right?
Still could hit this year.
it still could hit this year. I don't want to, and nobody's going to be
No.
upset if it doesn't.
No,
and
absolutely not.
I know you're not implying that, but like
Yeah.
nobody would. But the idea that, okay, we're seeing this game. What? Game Pass gamers, I think, are really in a really unique position where they are extremely fortunate that Xbox was in third place because they had to bring you value. And now for your dollar, it travels so far.
It does.
Right? I've never seen a dollar travel this far in a gaming space. So Game Pass gamers, I think, are really, really fortunate. And, you know, in a few years, that'll include COD, right? The current COD. And that's just, it's just wild to me how good.
Include this year's COD. We could see it if
you think so. I think there's a marketing lock on it.
But supposedly the rumor was Jim wanted to get out of that marketing.
Fine by me.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
We'll see what happens with that.
Because he doesn't want to market an Xbox first party title. And I don't blame him. Again, I don't blame him. So, but if you want out,
take Diablo off the storefront there, Jim.
Yep, exactly. Although the marketing rights are with Xbox technically. But anyways, yes. No, great takes, Luke. Again, you were spot on. You laid it out very well. So, Mav, Luke's kind of laid it out for you. Again, the first half of this year, we've talked about this so many times, bro, on so many different shows about what this year has entailed, what it's brought, no matter where you're gaming. And again, it just seems like every time we turn around, there's something else dropping. And here comes Cloverhill dropping the visually, it's different when you see it than even when you talk about it, or you just look at a blank, or you look at a simple list of the games. When you actually see them, like, and they've got some cover art associated with them, it brings even more hype when I look at this list of what we're getting between now and just October 10th. And again, we still got 2 more months after that too.
Yeah.
What did you think? What did you think when you started seeing this, brother? Because I know this was kind of a topic you wanted to bring up. You wanted to talk about kind of the last third of the year or the second half of the year that which we've done. Where are you at now, brother?
There's too much for me to be able to get everything I want. Like we talk about those games you can just get sucked in, right? Part of the problem is that this year has so many of those games.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also all the other stuff that's awesome that you want to play as well, right? Like Mortal Kombat's coming out, dude.
Right.
Like Armored Core 6 is now getting my attention. Steel keeps putting it in our ears, so I like it's like I got this little steel rain in my ears and Armored Core 6, you gotta get it, bro.
Game of the year.
Yeah.
Game of the year, bro.
So like that's just randomly, like I hear Armored Core 6 in my brain every once in a while when I'm walking around. Like I can't believe the amount of content that we have this year for gamers. It's like 3 years rolled into one of games. It's kind of how it feels to me. But then when you look at Game Pass also, like you mentioned a lot, Luke, about like you rambled off several titles that are first party, right? And we talked, remember, Pong, about like what's the possibility of how many first party games could be in Game Pass this year. We talked about this before.
Yep.
They shadow dropped another one today.
Correct.
Like they shadow dropped 2 day one releases first party Game Pass games this year.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was even another one, but I don't remember.
Oh, there was GoldenEye also that happened, but that was like not a shadow drop, but like it's those are 3 things. By the way, that game's a waste of time. Don't do the GoldenEye remaster. That I blame Nintendo for that. Anyway, besides that, so much stuff, man. And like I just look at when we talk about like the greatest year ever potentially, like I was on the fence about that because we've had like 2007 was like insane. You can go back in time and look at some of these release calendars of some of the past years, but that back then they released games more frequently, right? So you had it's tough back in that era, but you know you have these years where it's just like, my God, all those games came out that year. Those are what a lot of people consider some of the best games of all time. All in 1 year, you know? So that's happened before. But Baldur's Gate, 2007 was the best year ever for me before this year.
Yeah, for me too. Yep.
But this year with Baldur's Gate 3 has surpassed it because I know what's still to come. as good as this, we've already had over a full year's slate of releases with big titles and great games,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
More than the last 3 years combined, I think. As far as quality as well, these games are not just, big names. They're reviewing very well and very well received. And now some of them have other issues that make sure we talk about.
We've talked about a lot.
Yeah, but needless to say, there's still great games. And when I saw that and realized we have like only 4 months really of this year left. When I saw that global tweet, and then thinking about even beyond the Game Pass games to have all these big third parties still yet to come.
Yeah.
It's just put things in perspective how big of a year this is, and the experience that I've had with Baldur's Gate 3 now is like, that's going to be a game that will be on my all-time list, right? As much as I expect Starfield to be as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And dude, it's just amazing. Like you talk about the stretch of your dollar. This is something we talked about early on. Nobody was talking about this stuff about how that effect is going to be exponential, right? That Game Pass is not just, especially because all first party games stay in the Game Pass, right?
Yep.
Game Pass value increases every year.
Correct. As they add more.
Yeah, we did get one price increase, so at that point the value decreased slightly there, right? Mm-hmm. But every year, every time they release a new first party game, yep, the value of Game Pass increases. Now, when you have a year like this year where they've released several first party games, and the biggest ones are still yet to come this year, that value gets a lot larger. And not only that, mind you, the other random stuff like we have with game preservation type things, like with Quake 2, and then also the free updates you get all the time on the old library games and all these different things that happen pretty frequently. Right. You're constantly adding value to the old titles. It's that game preservation effect that Phil talked about, right? And that's why I believed, honestly, that if done properly, digital can be a better form of game preservation than physical. Physical things break, right? Old consoles run down. How many is still left of a certain thing 20, 30 years from now? A digital file can be held over forever, as long as you always have something capable of playing that. But what Xbox has done is they're not just making things capable of playing it, they're improving the experiences that are worth improving over time as well. So that adds value. And over time, it's a value that I think cannot be ignored. And everybody, at the end of the day, cares more about money than other things. Like as far as like making a decision, like about, okay, like I'm gonna go to the store and okay, how much bang for my buck? It's like when I was shopping for the PC. Like, how much bang for my buck am I getting? Like, I could go and get the 4090, all the bells and whistles and everything, and spend $4,000, right? But is it, how much more performance am I getting for that extra $2,000 compared to what I spent on my PC? You know what I mean?
That's the thing. How far does your dollar travel? And they consistently reward you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then, so when you talk about Game Pass and value, the only argument that people have been making is like, oh, there's like not as high quality experiences in there and stuff like that. Oh, it's just fodder, or this is the arguments that have been giving. But at some point, the quality and content cannot be questioned. No. Once the quality and the content cannot be questioned, and then at that point, also the quantity. If you have quality and you have quantity, it cannot be ignored. And to me, I already think there's a ton of quality in there that gets ignored by
absolutely
tons of people. And it's just like, oh, there's nobody cares about those games or whatever. There's tons of people care about a lot of these games. But there's so many big games. We just saw Forza Horizon 5 pass 32 million players.
Right. So cool. Deserved.
No,
and
beyond.
a racing game and like a Forza, yeah, Forza Horizon has been popular before, but not that popular, right?
Correct.
I mean, that's riding the wave. Quality is going to pay dividends to the ecosystem. I think it's going to pay back, like with people starting to really catch on, and it become one of those things of like, they got me. I'm gonna have to subscribe because I can't ignore it anymore. Like I'm at some point, you're being like
Irrational not to have it.
unresponsible financially almost not to get Game Pass. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
You know,
It's
Mav, you're touching on something that I think, I don't know if you meant to touch on, or if it was kind of an accidental thing. Do you remember when Redfall came out and Phil Spencer talked about, and he alluded to this a couple times, he directly referenced it, the pressure and the responsibility of being a first party game,
yeah,
and what that means.
right.
And you're talking about that quality bar,
Yeah, 100%.
the expectation that comes with it. Games like Forza, games like Sea of Thieves, games like, in theory, Starfield, the precedent we think is going to be set with Motorsport, that bar is going to become what gamers expect from first party Game Pass releases. Hi-Fi Rush surprised everybody, but it's kind of the standard of what you expect for a top tier AAA, despite it being kind of a niche rhythm game, right? And I think that quality expectation that rewards the ecosystem, and the ecosystem then kicks back and uplifts as well, kind of that symbiotic relationship between sales and quality, I think is why we were so upset about Redfall, because it wasn't doing that. And the expectation now is you better deliver. And when you look at Starfield, Motorsport, Hellblade, Avowed, Flight Sim 2024, Fable in 2024, Towerborn in 2024, all they're in their own genre, but a standard and expectation of quality that's going to reward that ecosystem, and the ecosystem then rewards back. I think is a big deal. I think it's a real big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a never ending. It's now that the avalanche has started, right? This is what we always talked about. Once the avalanche starts, it just continues to roll. Like you said, like Mav pointed out, every year becomes more valuable as more and more first party title games are in there, and they stay in there. They don't go,
and they support
right?
them.
And they support them
Even even the Halo, right? Yes. Halo Infinite. People are like, oh, Halo's dead. Halo's this. Halo's that. Right? Like I get it. I was highly disappointed. I was highly disappointed with the seasonal seasons 2, 1 and 2, the cadence. It was way too long and too little content for each one at the time. It was poorly planned. They weren't ready. I was a huge advocate for the free-to-play model for it because I thought it was the best way to invite the most players into Halo, right? But they just completely botched the seasonal cadence, like you said, Luke, for that game. And it pretty much killed a large amount of the community, mind you, because they were playing so much catch up that they had to ignore other problems with the game that they admittedly wanted to fix, but they didn't have the manpower resources to do it because they were playing catch up on these other things. But like we said back then, like one thing Microsoft doesn't do, they may make decisions and shift gears and all this things, but they usually don't just abandon a title and pull like a what was the game, Babylon's Fall, right? Like like they will usually so keep supporting the game and hope to manage to get a success out of a failure. They did it. They've done it before. They did it with Sea of Thieves, right? That didn't take as long necessarily as Halo to really catch on and start growing and get into where it needed to be. But Halo has a different level of expectations, right? So I like Samurai Kibji. He's a great person in the community, the great content creator. And he had put out a chart that I don't know if he was the original creator of it, but he also made a video explaining some of the stuff. Halo Infinite today, like this last season, they've released I think 10 maps. They have equal or more content than almost every Halo game right now.
Infinite is so good. It is so top tier good in terms of a Halo experience. The problem is it didn't deliver what they promised.
Right.
And as such, it's really hurt consumer goodwill. Yeah. And I bounced off because I was tired of waiting. but I've got days and days and days in that game, and it's great. For all its problems, the campaign is solid. And now, to your point, Matt, and to, I forget which, was it Clobriel or
Yeah,
Noble?
Clobrel. No,
Clobrel?
Clobrel had put out. He talked about the Game Pass. This is Samurai QG. His name's Tony.
Okay.
Yeah.
To their point, now in its state, it's a great time to return and to go back and check it out. And that's kind of the name of the game for a lot of titles, right? Like
Yeah.
a good example would be State of Decay 2, right? The game is really fun. Aged quite a bit at this point, but the content's there and they've continued to support. Sea of Thieves continue to support. Pardon me. Obsidian, Grounded continue to support. They consistently, Xbox does, show continued support for their properties. It's just a shame that it took Halo this long to get there. It shouldn't have taken this long.
No,
right?
That's the problem. They had to make a lot of changes. They let a lot of people go. They put somebody else in charge. The person that resurrected Master Chief Collection, right?
Yep.
Seemingly is already on track of getting this game in order with a lot with content. And there's rumored PvE mode coming out, and a lot of stuff they've been doing behind the scenes for a long time might finally start to hit with Halo. And it was interesting also after the big Xbox game showcase we had this year, with that interview with Phil Spencer and Matt Booty with Jeff Grubb over there on Giant Bomb. Matt Booty mentioned and I'm excited about the future of Halo, right? Which has been, everybody's so negative on it, but he made a point to sound like there was exciting stuff to announce, right? Coming for Halo. So I think Halo Infinite's in a good place. I want to return, but right now there's just too much other stuff to play. And that's the other thing fighting against Halo right now is I feel like the content's there, but everybody else is distracted by awesomeness, just left and right. And it doesn't help that there's just new games releasing every couple of weeks that everybody wants to play. So, but at some point, this community, I think, is going to start slowly, kind of gradually come back into it. And I think you'll start to see the numbers climb again as slow as they had dipped. And all it takes is content and keep putting it forward, and we'll see what comes of it. I don't know if they have their same original plans they did with Halo Infinite when it was launched, with a 10-year plan or whatever, but I think there's still a lot to look forward to in that game. And kudos to them for not giving up on it and just abandoning ship. Some people wanted them to. Some people said, just leave it, go make another game, right? But they keep putting out content, and for people that bought the game or play it regularly, they're happy, and they're going to keep coming back.
Yep.
Agreed wholeheartedly. Again, me and Halo, I'm the casual Halo guy. It doesn't do anything for me outside of the fact that I love and appreciate that, like you said, Mav, that Xbox continues to put effort into those games no matter what at the end of the day. And Halo, obviously, as I said, it's on the Mount Rushmore of games. I don't have to be the biggest fan to not understand what it means and what Master Chief means, obviously, to a huge swath of gamers in the gaming community, and what it did for Xbox and what it did to gaming in general and changing it. So the fact that I never believed they would give up on it. Obviously, they did huge, massive restructuring within 343, which had to happen. We talked about that plenty of times. But the fact is that they're still pouring resources into this game. They're going to continue to support it down the road, even if they move in another direction, even if all the rumors are true and they are moving away from Infinite and potentially doing something completely different with Halo in the future. Halo Infinite is still going to live on, and they're still going to be putting out content for it. And obviously now with the community involved, with Forge and everything else, and creating these freaking ridiculous maps that just look like professionally done maps, that's going to continue on too. And again, who knows, down the road, people might look back at Halo Infinite and say, yeah, it's terrible. First year, 2 years was just god awful, but my God, look at it now. It's freaking amazing. It's something that will continue to live on. The problem being, as Luke pointed out, as you pointed out, Mav, as we've talked about, is that the old days of Halo, they had a greater opportunity to fix problems and to adjust things. Nowadays, gamers, time-wise and content-wise, have so much competing for that people just jump off. Nope, sucks. I'm done. Okay, I got 10 other games I go invest my time into
I'm a
right
huge
now.
Halo fan,
Right.
and I'm not touching
Right.
it, right?
Right.
And
Right.
but I want to because of all the
Right.
stuff that's in the game. I just like when I have time, I got to make a choice, and there's just too many new games that I want to play. You know,
Way too
It's like streaming services at this point, right?
Right.
As the prices creep up, I start making tough decisions because my time is so finite.
Yeah, which amazing show do I want to watch and binge now, right? Like it's crazy. A lot of people don't like the era of streaming and all this kind of things, but like for me, I'm like that's one of the things I was excited about Game Pass, like this potential, like because I actually felt like even though some things have like gone down in quality, you could point to certain things. I feel like there's so many more original creations in streaming services now, and like that you can watch and binge and like that you'd never gotten on television before. You know what I mean? So like I felt like that was a possibility for Game Pass and subscription gaming as well, because it takes there's an audience that might check it out if you put it in the service because it's already there face forward for people to see like right away, and you're trying to get value out of your service, so you're gonna a lot of times check out what's there. And sometimes in this day and age now with social trends and everything like that, it takes some you got to focus on the quality, but if you really focus on the quality and put your passion into it, people are going to talk about it, and you're going to find people that are willing to get it, and you don't have to go spend $70 to try something in a subscription service, right? That's the biggest benefit. So you have a lot of people trying genres and different kinds of games than you ever had before. I think it's a good thing. But man, what is the game awards going to look like after this year?
I was just going to bring it up. I
know you were. I had to beat you to it.
Yeah, I know. You beat me to the punch. We got about 20, 25 minutes here with Luke left before we get him out of here. So I did kind of want to touch on this, like the Game of the Year awards. Like, well, listen, the Keeleys are the Keeleys, whatever. There's lots of other gaming awards that are handed out, but let's be real. Keeleys are the one that get the eyes on it because that's what he's created. He's created a spectacle that draws the attention of celebrities and gamers across the globe and everybody else in between. And again, shout out to him for what he's done. Again, I think he's done more good than anything else for the video game industry, and it's unique. But when we look at this year, and we just talked about it being what we probably all three of us already consider the greatest of all time, and it probably will wind up that way, especially with the end of the year. Again, we didn't even mention the things that make great years are not just the big games, or the games that came out of nowhere, like a Remnant 2 this year, right? Came out of nowhere and grabbed a lot of people's attention. Stuff like that has to happen for it to be the greatest of all time, along with the big releases that we all know. But trying to whittle this down, what is the normal? Is it 6 normally that he tries to get it down to?
It's normally 6, I think.
It's normally 6.
Yeah, it had to be 6 because Stray was there last year.
I've got 7 on my Game of the Year so far list because like I keep a running tally. I've got 7 that are genuine competitors at this point in the year.
Give me those 7, Luke. What do you got?
So at XCP, our running list right now, and it's not Xbox specific, but it's Hi-Fi Rush, Resident Evil 4, Dead Space Remake, because it's a full-on treatment.
I'm with you, bro.
I'm not with you, so I'm one of the detractors that say they can't be.
Maybe we have this debate sometimes about remakes and can they be.
It's a fair and good debate, but like Resident Evil 4 is so fundamentally different. Is Dead Space comparable? Good argument to have. But Hi-Fi Rush, Resident Evil 4, Dead Space, Tears of the Kingdom. I've not gone hands-on with that. I just want to be clear, but I do recognize its quality across the board.
That's the same way I am, so don't worry about it. We talked about that.
Street Fighter 6, I think, is the one that people might not have on its list because it's such a good fighting game. It's really
didn't it have like a 90 roughly on Meta or something like that? I can't remember.
I'm sure it's easily could be that high.
Yeah, it's good. It's very good.
It is extremely good. Diablo 4 and Hogwarts are all the ones. I think Hogwarts is the easiest bump off the list. I don't think it had the staying power in conversation, even in its genre, that some of these others did. I think you could probably substitute Hogwarts for Jedi Survivor because the patches came so quick. If they hadn't come as quick, maybe you have a little debate. But that's my running list.
Baldur's Gate 3, Luke?
Okay, so good point. I have not put that on. I should put that on. That's not my game. Never played that game.
So
because of that, it didn't make Logan and I's list. but I think that'll be in the running too. I'm actually
Yeah.
adding it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has to at this point. I
What
think the
stinks is
conversation is. Yeah,
I
go ahead.
think Hi-Fi Rush is not going to get its due diligence. And
Yeah.
I worry about that. I hope it gets recognition for art direction, for creative design, for any of those not quite mainstream categories, right? Because at its core, it is a very niche title. It's a rhythm action platformer, and that's a very hard thing to sell.
Yeah. Well, last year a
but it's
game was
so
nominated where you walked around and solved puzzles as a cat.
that Game of the Year contender is now on
It
Xbox,
is.
and because it's now on Xbox, I'm contractually obligated as a paid shill to say that was absolutely one of the best games ever made. Now,
It was a good game. I did play it on PlayStation last year. I didn't finish it. Like it was impressive. It wasn't like a game.
There
of
was
the
no
year
wow
thing. No,
yeah.
like
there are games with wow factor this year in a way that I don't think last year necessarily had.
yeah, they had to. You could tell they're just trying to reach for something like the indie darling type game
And
to put in there.
sure.
And
right?
Keeley normally does that, right? He usually
Yeah.
has one off game, the smaller game, indie game that, shows up in there. I don't think he can afford to this year.
I don't think you can either.
No.
I really, and again, this is no slight to Hi-Fi Rush. Obviously, again, just because the game wasn't for me, I played, whatever through the first act of it or whatever the first level of it. I still understand the high quality bar that was set, and obviously the conversation, and obviously everything behind it. The game probably deserves to be in. But can you honestly, again, in this year, bump another bigger game out of there for it, right? Is this one of those years? Like last year was a perfect year to have some oddball games in there, right? That was the perfect year to have some games that if you wanted to put them in there, you could put them in there because there wasn't a whole lot.
Post-pandemic, teams were finding their way. 2022 was you had Ragnarok in there. And one or two others.
Third party was very bad last year as well.
Yeah, it didn't. This year is third party heavy.
Yeah.
Right? Like real heavy. Jedi Survivor was so good. Resident Evil 4 just.
Did you include Jedi Survivor on your list? Was that
to me, I think we bump Hogwarts off in favor of Jedi Survivor for our running list, but like it's not our narrowed down list yet. We'll narrow it down. I do include Jedi Survivor.
But how are you going to narrow? Okay, so let's take your list, Mav. I want you to jump in here too, because we got Luke's list, which is a very good list, right? I haven't played Jedi Survivor. Obviously, again, understanding conversations around games like that, I understand why it's going to be in the conversation, especially after so many people believe that Fallen Order, was shafted when it came out, right? It'll be in the conversation. Obviously, I played Hogwarts. I played a lot of Hogwarts. Love that game for how polished it was. I got to think it's in the conversation, but here's the problem. We got Luke's list. He's got 7 or 8 now. If you count 9, if you added Survivor and Baldur's Gate, we still have, we've got Final Fantasy 16, which a lot of people are still going to claim this should be in, right? We're going to have Final Fantasy 16 in the conversation. We are going to then wind up having my dark horse Remnant 2, which I believe should be in the conversation. Again, dark horse. I'm not saying it even should be nominated. I'm just saying it should be in the conversation. The creative aspects in that game are second to none, and they should be appreciated. Again, score-wise, it's probably not going to be there. Big time conversation piece-wise, it's probably not going to be there. It generated a lot more hype than they believed it would, but at the same time, it didn't reach the levels that I think is necessary. But I think it's a dark horse conversation to have. But then you've got games coming out like Starfield, right? You've got to obviously probably assume that game's going to be in the conversation. So you've got that. Then you've got Nintendo coming out with a new 2D Mario game. Are you kidding me? They already have Tears of the Kingdom, but let's be real. Nintendo Power is what it is, right? The love for Nintendo never stops. The fact that you're coming out with a brand new Mario 2D platforming game in Super Mario Brothers Wonder, it's going to. It could be. It could even get more hype eventually than some of the big games we already talked about, just because of what it is, right, and what that means. Then you've got other games in there. Obviously, Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Insomniac, you know what they do. You can say, well, it's just another Spider-Man game, but
That I'm curious if that ends up working against it, because I
this year,
have
I think it could.
I think it does too. And think about Sony, just an incredible AAA experience machine in terms of exclusives. But it started to, at least I noticed it with Ragnarok, after Last of Us 2, after Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West,
Yes.
the sequel feeling, the sequel
Hmm,
vibe. And this will be the
correct.
third Spider-Man game from
5
Insomniac.
years.
Right. And I think that's going to start working against them a little bit, because, and not even because they're bad, but just
No.
it's not new and fresh anymore. Right.
Right.
God of War was more God of War. And that's awesome. But it's just still, I've already done it. Right.
Right.
I've already done it.
Right.
Right. And so that's, I think, going to start working against them as time goes on. So I don't think Spider-Man makes it in there, even though I'm, as a superhero fan,
Sure.
I'm stoked. Right.
Right.
Like, I'm stoked.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to keep them in there.
This year's stacked, how stacked it is, I think you're right. Again,
Yeah.
I think that it'll be easier. Matt, do you agree? It'll be easier for those that are voting, right? Which is obviously the mainstream press and critics, that they can look at Spider-Man 2 and easily go, good game, great game, another Insomniac classic. That's awesome. But with all these other games and all these other creative teams, do we actually throw Insomniac in there, or this year do we say, you know what, great game, but we're not going to put you in that game of the year? What do you think?
I think new experiences are probably going to win in favor, right? Because, or, something that's so old that people forgot how awesome they are, like Baldur's Gate 3, like those
Right.
kind of classic experiences made in a whole new light, right?
Right.
That's bringing back a genre from the dead, pretty much, bro. I mean, there is lots of different examples of fantastic games this year, but you mentioned a lot, Luke, and I could easily look ahead at what's still to come and be like, well, this game could knock that off the list. This game could knock that off. But and it's just these other ones like Armored Core 6, right?
That's what I was just going to bring up. Yep. We can't underestimate another dark horse, because From Software is beloved by the critics, especially after Elden Ring. Armored Core 6 could sneak in there.
You had Street Fighter 6 on there, which we looked it up, and Alvin said in the chat, it had a 92.
Yep. 92.
When's the last time we had a fighting game that hit a 92 on Meta?
Right.
But
and Mortal Kombat's in September,
and it looks absolutely freaking incredible.
Right.
And that could be potentially the better game of the two, which would be insane to have two quality fighting games. I mean, we're talking about bringing like genres back in a big way. No longer niche, no longer like held under this like small budget, like, well, we're only going to treat these kind of gamers like they're only worth this because there's only a certain size audience. We've seen Baldur's Gate 3 smash that idea out of the park. Like, if you put the passion and you put the money and investment and love into it, and you create something that is a love letter to the genre of what people love and create something truly unique and amazing, then guess what? People are going to buy it, and you're going to create fans of the genre, right? You're not going to have to cherry pick the people that used to love those old games, because you're making the next big thing in that genre, which is going to create new fans. Street Fighter got away from that, right? They kind of went down last generation, a lot of it was Capcom's budget. They went back, they retooled, they put a lot of effort into Street Fighter 6, and they are doing well because of it, right? And but the team that carried last generation for fighting games was NetherRealm. Between Injustice and Mortal Kombat, they completely carried the genre last gen, and this is their first big game this generation, and they are ready to bring it and try and bring back their crown, I think. So it is absolutely crazy, bro. And then to top it off, Pong, you mentioned Forza Motorsport earlier when we were talking about the Game Pass games. Now, I'm not going to say that it could win Game of the Year because it's a racing game.
Forza Horizon 5 would have.
Yeah, but Forza Horizon 5 did win some people's Game of the Year with a big with big media, right?
Yeah.
Forza Motorsport like could be so special that maybe it could get some kind of consideration. But this year's so ridiculously hard, man. There is so many games. I know one thing. The lead up to this year's Game Awards are going to be like nothing we've seen before with the Gaming Awards show.
No.
Because Starfield's coming out. Then you got Spider-Man 2, plus all these games that already came out, and plus the other Mario, the Zelda, we got Zelda, like all these games, man.
Let me throw another one. Heavy narrative driven game from a fantastic studio, Alan Wake 2. Yeah. I'm telling you, Alan Wake 2 could certainly do it, man. Remy knows what they're doing over there.
I almost thought like 90s were dead with gaming media, with meta.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like for like a 5-year period,
for a while it was very hard.
Rare for a game to get above
Nintendo
90
games
on meta.
Nintendo and some
unless it was a Nintendo game, right?
Yeah,
or some PlayStation game. But like now it seems like they're dropping left and right, bro. It's like crazy.
And deservedly.
Yes.
Deservedly dropping, you know?
Yes. I think the quality has definitely increased. But I think for Keighley, right? And you were just talking about Mav, the lead up to this year, like if he's going to capitalize, and we know he capitalizes normally, he's going to this is the year. And I think he should actually expand the category. I think he should
go like the Oscars and go 10 games.
I think he should this year. I think it would be massive because, like you said, the lead up is going to be unbelievable. The conversations are going to be had, right? The conversations leading up to the nomination.
Tears of the Kingdom or Starfield or Spider-Man
or Baldur's Gate 3. Is Baldur's Gate going to surprise everybody?
It could.
Like, yes. It could, deservedly so. It's sitting at a freaking 97. I don't care how many there are. That game's not going to drop much more. It's going to be sitting right between a 95 and 97 at this point. The lead up to it is going to be its own show this year. If Keighley capitalizes, which I do believe he does. And I think the other awards out there, the Golden Joysticks and all the other awards, givers should capitalize on this year as well. And they should try to pump themselves up. I'd like to see some more get really kind of known versus just Keighley. I think there needs to be competitor there. This is a year to do it because so many people are going to be invested. Most of the years we just like, hey, we're just here. We're just here for the new games. Just give me the new game announcements. I just want to see the new trailers. This year, I'm going to be invested. Luke, are you going to be invested this year in the Game of the Year awards? Like
in a way that I haven't been in a long time? Absolutely. Yes. Not just for the awards.
Right.
But, let me rephrase this. Sometimes the Game Awards is about the trailers. It's about the next games.
Correct.
This year feels like it's more about the awards. Now, I hope Keighley remembers that. And to his credit, and I think sometimes he gets a bad rap because he has done some incredible things and carried a torch. And sometimes we're too hard on him. Sometimes we're not.
Right. But he deserves it sometimes.
Yes. But I really hope that this year there's a greater emphasis on awards because this year they can be about the awards.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Sometimes it's just not. Sometimes it's about that trailer because that's really the best part of it, or close to.
I do think though, because all these game companies, all these publishers looking and probably anticipating how much attention this year's Game Awards is going to get, they may be trying to be like, I want our game in this year's show. Because
we might have a big trailer year.
Yeah, because this is going to probably be the most watched Game Awards because whoever walks away with the Game of the Year at the biggest Game Awards show and potentially the greatest year of gaming in history, I don't care if it's an award show that doesn't mean anything to anybody. It's a big deal, right?
Yes.
This year, it is a big deal to win Game of the Year on the biggest stage.
I will tell you right now, not a separate point, Matt. You're seeing Hellblade 2 there. You're seeing Starfield content. That's going to happen. And I think you've got one surprise in the bank for Xbox. I think you got one surprise announcement that's going to surprise you a little bit. Really curious to see what, if anything, Sony brings after their troublesome summer. In terms of showcases, not releases, not sales, but in showcase, and the grim outlook, I say grim in air quotes, of their future content for 2024. It looks like they're going to have a light year in 2024 and then rebound hard in 2025. Really curious what, if anything, Sony brings, but expect Xbox to bring it at this showcase because,
Yeah.
to Mav's point, all eyes are on, because winning this year is a big deal, and that means trailers and any spotlight you can get in there is way more important than it's ever been there.
Yeah. Keeley is just loving this year of gaming,
Oh,
probably.
bro.
Man, I could
He's going to be
imagine
able to sell the hell out of
the
advertising.
advertisements.
Oh,
Like,
my
hey,
God.
Samsung, show me the money. Samsung, let's go.
Yep.
Nvidia, who's he usually like? Nvidia and Samsung and like or
Sure.
AMD or like all
Yep.
these other partners and stuff.
It's going to be massive.
What car are we going to see Keeley promote this year?
Hopefully no car. Hopefully no car. Yeah, exactly. We don't need any filler advertisements this year. You'll have people lining up, Keeley.
Hasn't he had
Just
like 1-2 years
keep
in a
it gaming.
row, I think? Like, anyway, it's funny.
Keep it
Was
gaming.
that ever
keep
cool?
No, it
Like,
was never cool.
But see, like, yeah, I don't know cars. You know what I mean? Like, Ainsley Bowden pops out of my ceiling and is like,
Yeah.
yes, I was. Like,
No,
sorry.
no, Ains would probably say it wasn't. At least I hope so.
It didn't at the Game Awards last year. Was that when Xbox had the Porsche Xbox?
Yep.
Oh,
that Porsche Xbox was ugly. Remember that ugly one? Yeah. That's one of the few ugly Xboxes. I mean, unless you loved it, in which case, Matt, thank you for letting me be on your show. I really appreciate it. It was one of the best looking things I've ever seen.
No, it was whatever.
I didn't mind it.
It's not even available for like purchase from the masses or anything. It's just
no, that's the whole problem. That's the whole problem.
Like,
we're not getting any of those cool consoles at all. But I think this year, going back to the point that Luke just made too about Xbox specifically, capitalizing on the Game Awards this year, they absolutely, after last year not being there for all the variety of reasons, think about this. They're going to have Starfield out. They're going to have Forza out. We could potentially have like Stalker 2 out. There's still City Skylines dropping in Game Pass, which is huge. I don't care what anybody says. We could have Age of Empires 4 dropping into Game Pass this year again. They're going to be on a roll and a streak. The ABK deal could be done. Persona 5 Tactica. They're going to have the
metaphor.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big deal, right?
That's a big deal. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a brand new game. I don't think it's coming out this year. I think that's next year, right? 2024. Yes, I believe so. I believe it's next year. Next year is going to be ridiculous too. We didn't even get a chance to talk about next year's already lining up to be unbelievable as well. But Xbox needs to capitalize on this. They're going to have the momentum. The ABK deal is probably wrapped up. Obviously, by that point, they're going to be able to promote the hell out of that stuff. The fact is, you show up at the Keeleys and you just bomb it. Whatever spaces you can buy from him, you give it all, because there are, like you said, Mav, going to be more eyes on this Game of the Year awards than ever before. I really do believe that he'll set massive. He's been setting records each and every year. This year is going to be a bigger jump than normal for him, for sure, because of the excitement around it. If he capitalizes, that's why I say, Keeley, Jeff, I know you listen to our show all the time, brother. I know you love us here at PM to PM. Listen, expand your categories out for this year. You really need to. Next year is lining up to be another stellar year, so you don't have to worry about the conversation about, you're going to trim it back down. Don't worry about that. Next year is going to have, I think, potentially the same amount of Game of the Year candidates we're seeing this year. So just expand it out. Sell the advertising to gaming companies, right? Keep it gaming the whole way through. Cut out the celebrity nonsense. Put a focus on the devs this year who are accepting the awards, because like Mav said, this year especially, these awards are going to mean even more than they normally do for these devs, which I know they do mean a lot, but I'm saying this year with the competition, it is going to mean really something big to these devs. So please put the focus on them, keep the celebrities out of it. Don't need the whole talking stuff, all that kind of nonsense. But again, keep it all gaming throughout this entire show. You will walk away looking like a king if you do all that. I'm telling you, this year is going to be massive for this show. It's going to be awesome. Yep. Absolutely 100%. All right. We've got to respect Luke's time. He needs to get out of here. It has been 2 hours. Mav, how are you doing on time this week?
I'm good. Yeah, we got a couple more things.
We got a couple more topics to get to. Yep.
But
no
before
problem.
you usher Luke out, I gotta say, Luke, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Pong gave you the flowers earlier. I'll give you a little bit. You have an excellent show.
Thank you.
Not many people can do what you do, especially as much as you do solo stuff, like and do interviews and all that kind of stuff. And you're always super professional, amazing content. I love the way you do your interviews and your thoughts on gaming. Super class act individual as well. So I have been wanting to get you here for a while, so I'm super happy that that you made it today. I want everybody to check his content out. It's on all the audio platforms, as well as you still put your stuff on YouTube as well, right? So like,
Yeah.
yeah, check that out on YouTube, and but like I know audio is where I usually listen to you.
Oh yeah.
So I got you on Spotify.
Thanks, man.
But hey, Punk Soul,
Yep.
you want to do a
Yep.
little outro for Luke?
I will. Luke Lore, aka Insipid Ghost, everybody. Again, absolute honor to have him here. Again, he brings the knowledge, the passion, everything that we love. He brings it in spades. He does so on his channel. Please go support his channel. Like Mav just said, tons and tons of great content. One of the best interviewers out there. Again, his dev interviews are extra special. And if you watch his creator talks, again, now that he's doing those with community members, just amazing stuff out there. So go support this man. He deserves all of it and more. Be there. But Luke, thank you again, sir, for being here. Appreciate it so much that you took your time out to do this for 2 hours with me and Mav. Tell everybody where we can find you, where they can go support you, and what you got coming up, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for. I'm honored that you guys let me join you guys this evening. It means the absolute world. Yeah, for anybody that's watching, if interviews are your jam, I'm your guy. I've done over 110 developer interviews in the 3 years that XEP has been around. From small titles that you may have never heard of, like this morning I put up one for a game called Marble It Up Ultra. These are the guys that have been working on marble games. Starting off in the garage, these were on your Macs and PCs when you were a kid. They came with your PCs, and then they showed up in Xbox Live Arcade, and then their game comes out next week. From games you've never heard of to the big stuff, I've had the creative director of games like Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush on. Next week, Oceanhorn 2's team is coming on. I really try to get a nice balance of AAA, AA, and indie developer spotlights. I also, for content creators, do a show called Creator Talk. It aims for bi-weekly, where I have a creator on. Most recently, Pong was on. That's for my patrons on immediate release, and then it comes to YouTube later on, whichever your preference is. But it helps talk to creators about making content, how it's special, what's there for you guys. Really hope you guys take a chance. Xbox expansion pass on all your podcast services and YouTube. There's a Patreon link if that's something you're interested in. And then on socials, Threads, X, Twitter, Insipid Ghost is my name there. Would really mean the world if you guys would check it out, give it a shot. If you like PM and the PM, you like a lot of the Xbox content, I'm your guy.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Round of applause, everybody. Put those chat emojis up for Luke Lore. Thank you so much again, sir. Again, always a pleasure. Hope to have you back at some point again as well. And we'll talk to you real soon. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, boys. It was an honor. Take care, everybody. Thank you, chat.
Have a good one, bro. All right. Luke is
and then
great.
There was two. Yeah, he is. He's freaking amazing, bro.
Just me and you, Pong.
Just me and you. We got nothing else to talk about, bro.
Do have get to a couple of chats in here.
Do that. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Do that.
We had a member for 25 months. One of the oldest speculators, but one of the youngest people probably in the chat, because all you are old, like me. 3-bit said 25 months. Bow before me, speculators, bow. Chris Jones followed that up earlier with I'm coming for you. 3-bit, or sorry, not Chris Jones, sorry, I misread it. Calorie, member for 11 months. Speculator says I'm coming up to you, 3-bit. Then we got a $5 super chat from Alvin. Appreciate you, Alvin. Said Sarah Bond testified that under current Sony deal, Xbox wasn't allowed to tweet about COD. They did this year immediately. Something changed. Talking about the marketing rights stuff, right? That's interesting. So Sarah Bond testified that under current Sony deal, Xbox wasn't allowed to tweet about COD. They did this year immediately. So they did about Modern Warfare 3, right? Interesting. That is an interesting point. Like, I know that the Last year I saw PlayStation pull away from a lot of the marketing, even though they still had the deal. But I didn't see a lot of the branding on a lot of the ABK video or the Call of Duty videos. But that's an interesting point, man. I didn't think about that. And then Jasper, member for 24 months, says 24 months, but also younger than 3-bit. That's right. So did you hear Alvin had a $5 super chat earlier, and
No.
he made a good point.
Yeah.
Because he said Sarah Bond had testified that under the current Sony deal, Xbox wasn't allowed to tweet about Call of Duty. I remember that. I remember that in the testimony. But she did. But Xbox did immediately after the Modern Warfare 3 announcement this year. So they were allowed to tweet about it, which means something in the contract or whatever may have changed. At least with that, I would assume.
Or they got Jim out of it, right? Again, it's certainly possible that that's already been kind of agreed upon, right? Because again, Sony hasn't been promoting Call of Duty the normal way that they do, right? When it comes to Modern Warfare 3, they're still promoting Modern Warfare 2, special, promotions and that kind of stuff. I just saw it with the new season for Modern Warfare 2. Sony did tweet out and talked about bonuses for PlayStation, but we now know that they are going to show it off August something, aren't they? Modern Warfare 3 is supposed to be August something.
Yeah.
Next week, I think, when they're going to show it off. And PlayStation didn't tweet that out, right? They didn't do any of that normal stuff that they normally are all over when it comes to Call of Duty. It seems like they're already pulling back away.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not doubt that all that talk that Jim wanted out of the deal, maybe that's been agreed upon behind the scenes. And once it's complete, and they're going to sign it, and that's it. So, man, it's a good point, man. Speaking of Modern Warfare 3 too, man, this week we found out, and remember, everybody, got to remember this. The weird part is that this was going to be DLC for Modern Warfare 2. That's what was supposed to release this year. We were not supposed to get another full-bodied Call of Duty until next year. Now, again, you've heard us conversate and speculate on this, that Activision decided to change it to a full version to end this contract with Sony sooner rather than later. Obviously, back then, maybe the marketing was still in place. Maybe Bobby didn't want to get rid of the marketing deal because he didn't know if ABK was going to go through all that good stuff. We've covered all that. The fact is now that it is a full-bodied Call of Duty. However, it started out as DLC. And this week, Mav, and I'm going to give them credit, even if it was just because it's part of the program and because of how they plan to make this game in the first place. They're allowing you to carry over the majority of your unlocks from Modern Warfare 2, including weapons, including costumes, everything, into Modern Warfare 3. Gotta say, even though I don't care about Modern Warfare 3 this year, not planning on playing it unless it's in Game Pass at some point, not planning on buying it, playing Starfield, Forza, a billion other games this year. But I got to say, for all the Call of Duty players, this is something we talked about that they should be doing, is allowing carryover between Call of Duty games. We've talked about this with Madden. We've talked about this with 2K, all that kind of stuff. Figure out a way to give us value for the things that we're buying on a yearly basis. It's pretty damn cool, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I am curious about how that works with, so Jasper mentioned this before when we talked about it on FSP, but there's like a hub. You can launch whichever Call of Duty you want, right? And then all your Modern Warfare 2 stuff is there for Modern Warfare 3.
Yep.
But like, is this only because it was an expansion originally and they just turned it into a game?
That's what I was saying. No, that's what I was saying. That's what I believe. I believe that, and Jasper said that too. I believe that's the case because it was originally built to do that.
For me, it just depends on how much content is there, if it's a good thing or not. Like, if they only have a few more maps and have a shorter campaign, then a $70 would be a ripoff for that.
Right.
And it would be an excuse just to get the title out, sell it as Modern Warfare 3 because, Modern Warfare 3 is going to sell regardless, and then get the game out. This is unique for Call of Duty. And in a lot of ways, it's good, right?
Yes.
All that stuff.
Yes.
But I want equal amount added to that.
Sure.
So I just got to see more. You know what I mean? Like, on paper, it's awesome.
Understand. Yeah.
But I gotta see more of what content is in Modern Warfare 3 so I can know that they're not trying to rip me off. That's where I'm like, and it's like kind of like, we'll see. We'll see. But if it's I mean, it could be in Game Pass anyway. I may not even have to buy it. So
Right. That's what I'm saying. If it winds up there, then whatever. It is what it is. But if the leaks are true, Mav, this is kind of I don't want to call it shady, but how they're going to position Modern Warfare 3, how they're going to get people to buy into it. Number one, obviously, whether it was meant to be this way or not, including your Modern Warfare 2 progression, weapons, camos, everything is fantastic start, right? You're already winning with people because people now are like, okay, cool. But if the leaks are true, when you're talking about maps, they are going to lean heavily into the nostalgia maps and they are going to bring back favorites. They're going to bring back Terminal, right?
yeah,
That's how they're going to position this game. Those maps should have been released elsewhere, but they weren't. But for Modern Warfare 3 to sell it as a full price Call of Duty, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to go back and rehash some of the greatest maps again and bring them and package them into Modern Warfare 3 so that the real, the Call of Duty fans, everybody out there who has that nostalgia can go, okay, fine. I really want to go back and play on Terminal. I'm going to pick up Modern Warfare 3. That's fine. Let's go. And I can justify it because I can carry over all the money that I spent in Modern Warfare 2 is coming with me. So fine. I'm going to go pick this up. That's how I think they're going to do this. They're going to sell it that way. So
that you're probably right. I mean, I think you're right. I love the Modern Warfare campaigns.
Sure.
So that's enough for me to be excited for it. I just hope it's like as good and as grand as the last one, which what we've seen from the little bit of sizzle reel stuff they showed so far looks to be is probably going to be like, so dude, I can't wait. There's another game though. Like, but the good thing about the Call of Duty campaigns, you can play them pretty quickly. You can get through them like 10 hours or less.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want like a 3-hour like expansion type thing, and then be like, oh, $70 for it. And here's like 5 maps,
Right.
That would suck.
That would suck. Totally. Again.
And it's Sledgehammer.
Right.
So what I can hope is that this is what I'm hoping is like Infinity Ward kind of built this and like Sledgehammer's the name's attached to it and they kind of like finish it out.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you?
I would like to think that. I would, because I have no faith in Sledgehammer.
I know, and you shouldn't. Again, Zombies is also going to carry Modern Warfare 3. Don't forget Zombies is going to launch with it.
Yeah.
So Zombies will also carry it. 100%.
That's true.
That's a huge audience.
I've never been super into the Zombies game in a Call of Duty.
Yeah. I was with my kiddo because my kiddo loved it. And I can't remember which one. We played a ton of Zombies and he actually kind of taught me how to play Zombies. And I did play a little bit in Cold War with Steel and stuff because I did have some fun in there, how they had it set up in Cold War. I actually kind of liked it, but never been a hardcore zombie guy. So.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Me neither.
Yep.
I think I gotta have the right crew to play that with too. Zombies.
You do. It just the over complexity of the freaking puzzles and shit, and just like why?
Yeah.
After a while, you gotta go over here and pull these switches, and you gotta go spend so much over here, and
that just annoys me.
Yeah, I know it really annoys me. But people love it. So again, hey, shout out to all these zombie players. Again, a huge part of what made Call of Duty as big as it is. Again, Zombies was massive.
I wish it was never invented, so they didn't spend so much time developing that and made something else I like.
Yeah, well, now we got Warzone that they're spending all their time on, anyways. So, anyways,
when Xbox acquires ABK, their first thing should be to get rid of zombies in Call of Duty.
That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, we got some Sony news this week. We got some PlayStation news this week for sure. Little internal thing that their quarterly meeting that they had or whatever it was. They suggested that there was some internal delays. Now I've read this. I've read what's been posted. There's people out here throwing out 9 games. I don't know where that came from. I was trying to find it. I couldn't really find that exact number.
Yeah, I don't know either. I know Psycho
I
was saying
there
that.
there was a lot of a lot of people running with stuff where I was like, where did you guys come up with this? But anyways, the docs did indicate that there potentially was some internal delays that were moved right from 2023 and early 2024, and that was obviously going to affect some of their financials. And obviously, Sony's stock after the announcement, of course, this also came on the heels of their movie section not doing well either, and them expecting some delays to their movies due to the strike and all sorts of stuff. So there was multiple factors, but obviously their stock did drop this week. It wasn't all roses over there at Sony.
Yeah, it's
But
not what
these
you want to
delays,
happen after a financial call.
right.
That's for sure.
So, people were trying to guess what games and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, guys, like, Deb, do you have any thought? Go ahead, give me some thoughts because I was racking my brain. I was like, okay, well, obviously, potentially we know, Naughty Dog and Factions, that potentially could have been in that release window. And obviously we heard what happened. Bungie said it's not good enough. So that could have been one that was delayed. We know they canceled, 3 games. Was that potentially, 3 or more, I think at this point, with some of their partner studios? Was that included in this? Like, what are your thoughts on what this meant? Because again, I don't know specific numbers. I couldn't find any specific numbers. What do you think what this meant?
I think it's not a good look with the year that they have, right? I mean, they only have Spider-Man 2 this year, really. Correct. First party, right? I mean, the Helldivers 2 as well. Like, I'll count that, right? It's sure. But it's not a big AAA game, so it's. But it's a release, so and I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to dive into that. So, this year, I've said it a long time ago. I got like a lot of people coming at me on Twitter when I said this. That PlayStation has a first-party games problem in 2023. And people are like, "Oh, but they do third-party deals, so they don't need them." Well, then, like when the third-party games flop or whatever, then they're like, "Oh, well, those don't count because it's a third party, it's not first party." Well, then the Final Fantasy 16 comes out and it gets great reviews. Oh, see, it's like a first party. It might as well be, but it's timed exclusive. All that.
Don't forget
stuff,
VR games too.
Oh, there's even people that were highly praising VR. Yeah, VR was a big argument about that, and everybody that was super on board with the VR earlier this year. And we said this last year. This year was supposed to be mainly about VR for PlayStation. People are like not happy right now. Like Ryan McCaffrey gave it a glowing review on IGN. He's like, it's hard to find the point of even owning this, and I regret buying it.
Right.
So $600 wasted, right? Like, where are the games? So people always talked about, where's the games, Xbox? Where's the games? Where's the games? So we'll throw it right back at you, PlayStation. Where's the games? And I think the reality is they're having a hard time transitioning. And I think where COVID hit Xbox the hardest, now we're seeing also like the kickoff to a lot of games that would be starting to come out now. Maybe got held up, or maybe it's not that, and maybe it's like a change in decision making with philosophy there at PlayStation, where they're launching tons of different kinds of games that they're not really used to making, and it's taking them longer. We all know that these big like multiplayer experiences that like you got to have years of content and all this kind of stuff, they take years to develop, right? They had almost all their games that came out with this generation have been like sequels to existing games, where they kind of take the assets and the formulas and stuff and they improve upon them and make a better experience. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's what a sequel is, right?
Yep.
But it's usually easier and quicker to put games like that out than starting something like brand new. It's never been made before. You have it start from scratch, like come up with an idea. Then, okay, let's hire everybody and figure out, okay, we got to write it, the story. What's the world like? Starfield, like they,
right?
That's like They gotta make like religions for that. They gotta make like, like tons of stuff. Baldur's Gate 3, like these games are made like it's not a sequel to something that you have a lot of stuff to use, right?
Right.
And people that have already experienced making it, that makes it faster and more streamlined for the second experience. So a lot of that has been what Sony's had this generation, right? And not taking anything away from those games, there's a lot of them for the people that like those genres and those games are some of the best we've gotten in a long time. But
Yep.
they're out of that now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're getting Spider-Man 2 again this year, which is another one of those, right? But beyond that, there's not a new Horizon announced. There's not another Spider-Man or another new Last of Us or another new.
Would all be sequels, right?
Right.
Again,
and there's none. So what do we have? We have what we got at their showcase. It was a bunch of live service stuff that they're really not ready to show a lot of yet.
Right.
So
does that mean 2024?
I highly doubt it. I don't know, man. Like,
let me throw this at you right here, right in here, because shout out to MBG. Everybody loves MBG. He tried to pull out his own roadmap for Sony for the next 9 months, man. And I want you to get your opinion on his roadmap.
I haven't heard this.
You haven't heard this?
No,
okay, yeah.
Right.
I caught this. He put this out a few days ago. It was on August 6th. He put this out. Major PlayStation console exclusive games scheduled to release in the next 9 months. Right?
Okay, so that's what would that make? That's like June or May. It's May.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
April.
he goes through
May.
through April. He goes through April.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Firewall Ultra,
What's that?
is the new VR game coming out.
Oh, okay.
That shooter game.
What did he describe this list as?
Major PlayStation console exclusive games.
Okay.
Just again,
that's a
VR discussion.
So
that's a VR.
There's two problems already. I'm going to point to two problems. Okay. The first problem is it's not a console exclusive. It's a fucking VR exclusive. Okay. You can't just own the console. You have to own another expensive ass device to play this game, which is not major in any kind of way. And plus, nobody cares about it because only less than like 1% of PlayStation owners even have the damn VR headset. And most of them are getting rid of them right now by the time this game drops. So, yeah, minor.
This is major.
Minor VR exclusive.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So that comes out August 24th, 2023. Right. Stellar Blade. He put confirmed 2023. Now, again, that's one of the question marks. I saw some people asking if that's one of the games that have been internally delayed. There was some smoke that Stellar Blade was not in a good spot when Sony took that game, that it was not behind the scenes performing well. So, but he puts it as confirmed 2023. Okay. We don't have a date or anything else. It wasn't at the showcase. So
a little prediction on Stellar Blade.
Yeah.
It's a game they're claiming now.
Yes.
To add to the numbers of games they have.
Yes.
And when the game launches, they will try and denounce ownership of said title.
Unless it's the next Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, which it could be. Unless it hits that mark, you're right. They will try to distance themselves from Stellar Blade if it comes out as a mid game.
Which I think it's probably going to be a solid game, but I don't think it's going to be like
in PlayStation quality, not premium
at that level. Like
right.
Sevens ain't gonna cut it, right?
Well, we know that because those are bad games to Sony fans.
Right, and it'll be dead within a year. Is it multiplayer or single player only?
Single player.
It has a chance.
Yep. Stellar Blade was his confirmed 2023. Helldivers 2 confirmed 2023, rumored October 2023. So Helldivers 2 is in there.
I'll give him that one. I would like Major is kind of sort of questionable, but like I'm excited personally for that game because I love the first Helldivers,
and it's definitely upgraded from the first.
It is. It's a completely different game, really.
Right.
Part of me like doesn't like some of the changes, but I'm excited to see it. Right.
See it.
So
play it.
Yeah.
So am I. Absolutely. It's coming to PC. I'll be playing it on PC.
So that's you got one so far.
Yep. Spider-Man 2 confirmed October 2023. Okay. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth confirmed early 2024, January through April.
Okay. Is that
Okay.
confirmed? Is that accurate?
That's what he's saying.
Okay, so if that's
I
accurate,
don't know. Yeah. Yep.
that's
I think they
accurate,
said
then
first
3.
quarter. I think they said first.
Okay, so that's 3. Yeah, that's a
Yep.
big one.
And then Rise of the Ronin, confirmed 2024, rumored early 2024.
Well, you can't. Okay. Where's the rumor coming from?
I don't know. But that's the end of his list, by the way.
Oh. Okay. That was 9 games already?
No, that was 9 months worth of the next 9 months worth of games. That's his roadmap for PlayStation. A major console exclusive.
If Rise of the Ronin hits within that, I think that could probably be a quality title. So
absolutely.
Rise 1, of the Ronin,
Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth.
Fantasy 7 Rebirth.
Yep.
Spider-Man 2 and Helldivers.
Yep.
If those 4 games actually hit, that's not bad for the next 9 months. Now, what you have to do is go back and realize that we're in August and there has been 7 other months this entire year. So, yes, you can easily look at a certain period of time and be like, oh, we're cool for the next 9 months. But what happened the other 8 months of this year?
Oh, you got Last of Us, right?
The remaster. Oh. Wait,
when was that?
That was
when was that? That was last year. The PC version came out. That's right. The PC version came out.
Yeah. So that's cool. You know what I mean? And if you just discounted 2022 as a whole for Xbox, things are looking fucking great this year right now. You want to talk about 2023 and all the games that Xbox has had this year and the pipeline that they had? You want to look ahead at the possible 9 months for Xbox? I'm not saying PlayStation's doing it. I'm saying, if you actually hit those, that's pretty good, right?
It's okay.
Going forward, it's pretty okay.
Yeah. Not first party wise.
Do I have faith in it? Not necessarily that all those games will hit a timeline. I have Spider-Man 2 and Helldivers, yes. Sure. The other ones are all question marks for me, right? Mm-hmm. The VR game was just dumb to even include in this list.
Bro, it's a major console exclusive.
Yeah. Okay. But
because their last major release was what? God of War, right? November last year. That was their last major release. Yeah.
So then you go back and look at like Xbox this year, Hi-Fi Rush, it Age 2. Mm-hmm. You had let's see, what else was there? There was Starfield coming. Still, you have Forza Motorsport coming.
Yep, we had Redfall, which was not.
Yeah, Redfall was a major release, but
but it turned out not to be.
It turned out to be, what it is. So, that could be like their Stellar Blade. So let's see, what else do we have? We have more this year too. We just had a Quake 2 hit, which is not a major. I wouldn't say that's a major release.
Age 4, which is potentially coming.
It's supposed to come this year. Yeah, Age 4.
Stalker 2 potentially could come.
Oh, he's just talking exclusives, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That makes it even easier. Yeah. Stalker 2.
Right. Exactly.
There's probably like 10.
Well, if you
or 8. Liza P is an exclusive.
Right.
It's an
exclusive.
Is Liza P an exclusive?
Well, it's console exclusive for the time being, right?
No. It's just Game Pass Day 1.
It's just Game Pass Day 1.
Yeah, I remember.
Liza P is
it won the award of most anticipated PlayStation
title. Game. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yep.
Okay.
That's a Game Pass effect, though. We think of it that way.
Yeah. Game Pass. Chat saying Party Animals.
Yep, Party Animals. There you go.
If he includes that VR
Firewall, yeah, we can count Party Animals. Major console exclusive.
Yeah. I mean, we listed off a bunch in the Game Pass lineup. Forza Motorsport, major game.
Yes, of course. 1,000%, man.
Then you go into 2024. It's like rumored. If you want to include rumored, okay.
Yeah, that's rumored.
How about Avowed?
Hellblade 2.
Hellblade 2. Like Towerborn. I would put Towerborn with Helldivers, right?
Yep. Facts. That same level.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Pretty. Yeah, this is a lot more. A lot more. That's for sure. But anyway, it is. Who's counting, right?
Who's counting? I just thought it was funny as fuck. I knew you would love the Firewall. Ultra. I was like, Jesus.
Oh yeah,
Really?
that's a horrible.
We're still doing that.
That
We're
list
still
is
doing
that list is worse than my.
Yeah, and I've seen them bring up, oh well, Synapse came out for VR, and that was a big hit. Who's talking about Synapse still? Like I saw the reviews on it, looked like a cool game. That's the one where you could kind of like warp.
Nobody
nobody.
Because there's how many people own them?
Correct.
Dude, they haven't cracked 1 million yet.
Yep. No. Well, we don't know. Even if what do we hear? We heard like 500,000, I think, for through April or whatever it was.
Right. So if they haven't even cracked 1 million VRs yet, like I mean, I'm just saying that there's a reason they're not just making shit tons of content for it right now. It doesn't seem like.
Right.
Anyway, so back on the missing, potentially delayed games, right?
Yes.
Like I feel like maybe that's why this year's so weak for them, right? Like Xbox had a horrible 2022 for first party.
Yep.
Maybe that's kind of what's going on over the next, from what's happened this year already going into the next 6 months or so. And, it is what it is. I'm not like sitting there complaining. It's just, it's funny that, Xbox gets so much shit, and then when it happens to PlayStation, there's like no talk about it except defense from the same people that shit on Xbox. But like now we have all this pipeline of Xbox, and not a lot really to talk about or show for PlayStation. I mean, the one that like I would say that people are most intrigued by, that's an announced PlayStation title, is Wolverine.
Yeah, of course.
And if that actually hits in 2024 and they're able to get those other games out, then that would be insane. But I have a hard time thinking that Spider-Man 2 and then the Wolverine the next year. No. So I'm thinking Wolverine's
there's a whole lot of hoping going on that side that Wolverine's 2024. I keep seeing people going, oh, maybe it'll slip in 2024.
They may say 2024 at some point and then delay it like they do it like everything. So 2025 is probably my bet for that game. Late 2025.
Especially if the PlayStation 5 Pro is coming out, Mav. They're going to hold those titles
for that
so that the devs can take full advantage of the Pro, and that'll be huge. Wolverine on the PS5 Pro in 2025 will be huge marketing. Like that will be gigantic. Like they will hold it. They will hold it. I think again, this wasn't surprising. Again, people wanted to try to play it off like, oh no, Sony's got stuff in the pipeline. We talked about this so many times, Mav. Eventually they were going to run out of bullets. Eventually they had such a streak from 2018 right through 2022 of consistency from the studios that they had that there's no way that you can expect that to continue forever. There had to be at some point where that pipeline needed to reset, and that's exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Again, not that Sony's dead, but the fact is they're going to be dry. I believe.
A change, a shift over philosophy and types of games they're making, new franchises being made and developed, and it takes time. Right, just like it did for Xbox, and that's why we're going to be sitting
especially new IP and not like you said, man, new IP and not just sequels. Sequels are a lot easier to make, folks. They still might cost a lot of money. Take some time. Last of Us 2,
and they can be excellent. Sometimes they can be the best of the franchises,
But you got people like Cory Barlog out there that took a part of Sony Santa Monica is now making what is supposedly a brand new sci-fi IP. That takes time.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. They don't have any assets. They don't have anything to start working with. So it's starting from scratch, and they're building up that team so that Sony Santa Monica can make 2 titles at a time. That's the other thing Sony's been doing, is building out their team so they can start working on 2 titles at a time, because they know that's the only way they're going to down the road have a chance at keeping up with Xbox on content, is they're going to have to make multiple games. But Xbox's teams are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what happens. But we knew this was coming. I think 2023 is obviously going to be a light year with only Spider-Man 2 first party. And I'm talking straight first party. And I think 2024 is going to be just as light for them. I don't see them having anything ready next year. Maybe Haven has their games as a service ready. Maybe. Right. But honestly, I don't know what it's going to be. And I don't know how good it's going to be. And I don't know if it's going to be something that PlayStation community supports. So we're going to have to wait and see. But right now, anybody trying to tell you that Sony roadmap is great? No, outside of third-party deals, they're not great.
Yeah.
They're good on third-party deals. Don't get me wrong. They're fine. We talked about the Xbox third-party deals last year. That didn't count. So it doesn't count for them either. They're light.
That's true. Yeah. They're like games like High on Life and stuff like that,
Yes,
right? So
exactly.
they like, I mean, I think they're gonna be fine. It's just, like they're in that spot right now, and they'll get out of it eventually.
Right.
Just I don't know if they're gonna ever have the production like they used to.
Right.
Like, because I think a lot of these games that they're making, these new franchises, are going to be like ongoing service games, which they got to maintain those. Do they? And or are they going to have the amount of studios necessary to keep pumping new titles out while also maintaining all these other titles? Right. That's the question, because they can't like become a one studio publisher, like, or one game publisher, like some of these publishers end up doing. Right. They need to have the variety because it's first party. Right. So that takes away sometimes the ability to support some of these live service games as much as you want to as well, I think. But Microsoft is in a different boat there financially, right? So and when the games struggle at the gate, like, they will keep investing in it and try and pick them back up. I don't trust Sony to do that. Like, much like I don't trust a lot of publishers to do that. Like, if a game is struggling a lot, or like finds its like lack of players and content, like it's like more like what EA does sometimes. They like cut bait, or like a Square Enix does, like they cut bait, right? I'm not saying they would ban it completely like Square has done with some of their games, but like, I don't have faith in them like I do like a Sea of Thieves, like where the Microsoft launches, and it's like everybody's like, oh, where's all the content, all this, and then it's one of the most played games now, right?
Correct.
All these kind of things, it takes years of work and patience, and keep at it. We had a conversation about Halo earlier, and the amount of content they keep putting into it, even though all the negativity surrounding it, they haven't stopped. You know what I mean? They just keep going because they're trying to still create something out of it, and they've made promises that they're trying to somewhat keep, right? So I think it's a difference there with the capabilities because of the size of the companies, and money it's a shit ton of money to, I would imagine, to support these games long term and keep making all this content and all these things, right? And then also do all the other stuff, right? So I think it's PlayStation's figuring it out right now. They made a lot of acquisitions that help with that stuff, right? They got Nixus that's doing the port stuff to PC. They've got, started new studios, or acquired fresh ones, right? That are just started, and they're trying to see what they can do. But it doesn't help when you make an acquisition like Bungie, and then they say that your game that you've been working on for years needs a lot longer. And when that was potentially one of those games that was delayed, that's things like that are going to hurt the pipeline, right? So, but if they're going to do it, they need to do it right. We
saw them cut bait on a couple of their second party deals with games and servers, right? Again, they canceled 3 or 4 games this year.
Yeah, and I mean, goes back to before with other exclusives they've had with stuff that deals they made. Like, I can think of a couple shooters that were highly like promoted and stuff, and just like died quickly, and just they cut bait and stopped marketing, stopped pushing it, like all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. I think they got to be committed to it to do it. But that's what worried me when I was watching the game showcase, because they didn't have a lot to show for a lot of those games. Like Marathon, I have faith in because it's Bungie, and they kind of know what they're doing. And like, they, even if the hardest of core Destiny 2 players are like, get mad at this or mad at that or whatever, like, you can still point back at the last decade and say that yes, Destiny has been a huge focal point in the gaming community for 10 years now. So they have achieved something of success there, right? Whether you can be upset at different things or not, they've succeeded in this category. And in fact, they were probably the first ones to succeed in that category, right? Because they started that whole model really before anybody else did, especially with shooters. So I have faith in them, but like Haven, I have no faith in. The people that are making Concord, I have no faith in, because I know nothing about them really. I know Jade Raymond is a great developer, and
I have faith in Jade,
but I'm used to her making a certain kind of game, right? So I don't know what they're going to make here. And is it going to be great? I can tell you what I saw out of the trailer looked very samey to me of other games that are being
Well,
promoted and marketed right
seem
now.
to be an extraction shooter, and they're going to be late to the extraction shooter because it's already kind of come, right? It's already here. So
Yeah.
if that's the gameplay that they're going for, sure, it'll be PlayStation exclusive, right?
Yep.
But is that community going to support an extraction shooter at this point?
Yeah.
2024, 2025? I unless she brings something completely different or her team redefines, what it means to be an extraction shooter, it's going to be a tough uphill battle at that
Yeah.
point to get people to support it.
That's one thing I like about the Xbox ecosystem. They're not just
Yep.
like
Nope.
they're going to so many different things, man. They got the
Right.
RPGs, the shooters, they got the live service stuff, and then do they fall on their face a lot of times and stuff? Yeah, sometimes they do, but a lot of times that people complain about and we nitpick about are actually better experiences than we give them credit for because we care so much, right? But ultimately, I think the it's going to be tough sailing to get this going for PlayStation, and that's why we're in the position we are. But I'm really curious what games they are, and I
Right.
don't think they're announced, or either some of them were the live service ones that they announced for 2024.
They were all internal delays. Like the other one I saw thrown out there, which is a good guess, would be Twisted Metal reboot,
Right.
right? Because we've heard that's been in the works
So
too.
the positive aspect to this, if you want to look at it as a positive, just to play look at it from the other side of the coin here. If there and I don't know where the 9 games is coming from, but if I take the games I know about that Sony has, and I know that there's 9 other games that they were expected to release somewhat relevantly in the next couple years, that's still a positive thing for me. If I'm looking forward to new game announcements that could be coming out in the next couple years, right?
Right.
So that's
Right.
the positive side of it.
Yep.
You know that those games exist, but you just don't know what they are, right?
Right.
So that's how I would look at it if you're looking for some happy thoughts with this.
Yeah, they'll be reloaded in a couple of years, and they'll be
Yeah.
putting out a good content again, and that's fine. But again, the shock and awe, like if you were honestly looking at what they were doing, you knew this was
Yeah.
coming. There's
Yeah,
no way
Seth-
you thought they were going to have another 3 titles this year, first party games like Horizon and God of War and all this shit.
Yeah.
You had to know that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, they shot their load on that stuff,
Yep, they did.
Sappho says the software sales were down 40%. Is that?
I don't remember.
I didn't
seeing
even
that.
read
I don't-
it. All the financial stuff.
Yeah, neither did I.
I
If
just
that's the
didn't
case,
care.
it's certainly possible because they don't have a whole lot coming out. So
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense overall.
Acute Perspective hit us with a $2 super chat, Pong, and said
What's going
the
on?
FTC filed appeal versus Microsoft this afternoon. So yeah, I was following that. I checked out what Florian was saying about that thing.
Yep.
And this is just like a deadline that for the FTC to still have the ability to appeal the decision from the judge not to allow the preliminary injunction. This is like kind of like a deadline thing for them to do the filing on
Make
that.
sure they have
And
the option.
so everything else still stands on the fact that they're negotiating with Microsoft still, and that there's their whole internal case is still shut down and paused now. This is separate from that, and that the if the deal closes after the CMA thing is over with, it's irrelevant because even if they don't come to an agreement with the FTC, then if it's closed, they can't do anything because the decision from the appeal from that court of appeals wouldn't come until after the deal is closed, which at that point it's irrelevant to have a preliminary injunction because that preliminary injunction is to prevent a closing from happening temporarily, right? So all in all, like what Florian said and what I understand it as is it's not a big deal whatsoever. And the other thing was that like once they on the internal thing that they have paused right now, the internal case, once Microsoft and the FTC come to an agreement and the CMA stuff is over with, the FTC is probably just going to drop that appeal because there's no point because there's going to be closed. There's not going to be any point to have that continue. It's just be done.
You could try, but this just wastes more time and money.
Yeah,
Go right
exactly.
ahead.
And which is the annoying thing is like what he said is
Right.
like this is a waste of money,
Yes.
and time and stuff, and not just from the FTC's perspective and taxpayers' money, but also it costs Microsoft and they became money because they have
got to respond.
They have to respond to this.
Yep, absolutely, 1000%.
Yeah.
It's gonna be OCD. We're getting closer and closer. The CMA stuff is again, it's gonna be done. We haven't even talked about it because it's all happening behind the scenes. But at this point, there's no stopping.
It's done, guys.
Yeah, there's just no stopping it.
Yeah,
we'll get the final results here soon.
Done. It's just negotiation right now between things, and they're probably working out some contract stuff and the divestiture and with the CMA is going to be the big thing. And how that happens,
might not even happen.
It might not. It may be some other thing or whatever.
Right.
But
it will be.
That's a process. So it's not. That's what's going on right now.
Yep, no doubt about it. Mav, we're almost 3 hours in here, brother. I know you probably got to eat here soon too. But I wanted to ask you real quick. I wanted to bring back Baldur's Gate 3 here real quick.
Yeah.
It's something interesting. Yeah, I wanted to ask your opinion on this because I heard you kind of talk about because you were on Games Talk Live. Shout out to Fonz. With Colt. And Colt had some pretty strong words for Xbox. And we touched on this originally. When obviously the latest update from Larian came out right as they launched PC, and they kind of talked about Xbox still coming, but it kind of made it sound like potentially it was going to be 2024 maybe before we see it on Xbox. Now that all the hoopla is out here, all the hype for Baldur's Gate 3 is out here. We're just talking about it right now. It's my game of the year. And we think it's going to definitely be at the Game Awards. It'll be in the game of the year. I think it'll be nominated. I don't think there's any way that it can't be at this point, being one of the best RPGs to come out potentially in decades. This style of RPG.
It could be the dark horse to win.
It could be. It definitely could, for sure. But Colt had some extremely strong words for Xbox.
Yeah.
That this, even though we can all sit back and say, you know what, Starfield coming out, maybe it was, kind of a blessing in disguise that Baldur's Gate 3 isn't coming out this year, because obviously so many people are going to be playing Starfield on Xbox, whatever. But his point was well taken while I was listening to him, is that there's no way Microsoft and Xbox should have allowed a potential game of the year front runner to miss their system no matter what, right? To miss their ecosystem at all. Like, to not have the opportunity for their gamers in their ecosystem to go buy this game when the hype is real, when everybody's playing it, when all the talk of the town is this game. PlayStation players are going to be coming on board next month. They're going to be talking about this game. We'll see for how long. But anyways, that's besides the point. The point being is this is a extremely high quality, one of the highest quality games, if you just look at the scores right now, that we've seen in a long time. Like, it's at the top of PC lists right now at 97. It's one of the greatest games of all time put out on PC. That they missed this for their gamers, and that they should never have allowed this, that they should have made the exception, that they should have gotten rid of the parity clause, that they should have just, I think Colt's main point was, screw the co-op, split screen co-op, screw that, take the hit of it not being there, but have the game available for your fans. How do you feel about it now, Matt, that we're this deep into Baldur's Gate 3 and stuff?
I mean, I agree with Colt, and about that it's dumb for Xbox not to just say like, okay, it is what it is, right? Like, I mean, even if it's just a Series S or whatever, or even if it's both, because they got to have parity between the both.
Right.
I was talking with Colt and Fonz about this, and I have other thoughts as well beyond that. Not to say I don't agree with them. I agree 100% that if Larian is insisting that mode is in the game, and they're put it in the game, then if it's causing a problem from it being on your platform, then you got to do what you got to do and make sure the game hits, right? Like, because you can't allow your hardware to hold great games back for some arbitrary mode that most people are never going to play, and that most people probably didn't even know existed in this game until that came out, that it wasn't, they had trouble getting it to work on the Series S. So to that point, expanding on that a little bit, I also think that it is a little bit, and I understand the passion of the developers and I appreciate it, right? So I don't want this to come across wrong, right?
Right.
I want a developer to make the vision that they have envisioned, okay? However, if you have a mode in a game which is played by probably less than 0.5% of people that play the game, right? This
Right.
kind of genre, this kind of game traditionally does not have split screen co-op in it, right? Now, is it a cool thing for the people that do want to enjoy it? Yeah, 100%. Like, there's a few out there that would
We had this conversation about it with Halo Infinite, right?
right.
But how many people actually do it, right?
Yeah, but in Halo Infinite, a lot more actually.
Right. Right.
But like,
right. I would probably agree with you.
How many people would have even known that Baldur's Gate 3 had split screen co-op?
We haven't even played the multiplayer version yet.
Right. Now,
because again, it feels like a single player
it's a
game.
Traditionally it's a single player
Yes.
experience. Now it's
Right.
cool. I'm glad that I have co-op. Right? For me, the online co-op's enough, especially being a PC first game.
Right.
I'm not gonna sit my ass next to somebody here at my PC and play split screen. Okay? Like, hey, buddy, hey Pong, you want to come sit here next to me and we'll take turns? No, like I ain't doing that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I put a poll out on Twitter asking how many people play split screen co-op on PC on Baldur's Gate 3. And there was like around 100 votes or something. One person voted yes, everybody else voted no. It was like 99%, right? Because I've never heard of it. Like, and I understand. I'm a fan of split screen co-op. I'm a fan of coach co-op for certain games. Like I do like it. I played Moving Out with my wife and my daughter. I play Halo split screen in the past with her. Several different things. I've never played a game like Baldur's Gate 3 split screen. Right? It just would never even cross my mind to. So that's my point. Now, people say, well, you can't take away my point on this is that it's kind of forcing an issue from the developer's perspective based on stubbornness of passion of having to have something there that at the end of the day is causing them development problems on hardware, right? Yep. So at what point is the millions that are going to be able to play your game worth more than maybe the handful of people that were really looking forward to split screen co-op, right? So, and I'm not saying that, hey, the masses are more important than the few, right? What I'm saying is, as a decision from a publisher and from a business perspective, like, it's not necessarily the best decision to force that mode that almost nobody's going to play that's causing you issues getting it on a platform. Now, can Xbox easily resolve this themselves? Yes, right? And I get that. And the premise of, like, them not having the mode or whatever is ridiculous. But they could have also just delayed the split screen co-op mode and came out with it later in a patch when they got it running. Right. So I it's kind of weird, and I'm not just gonna only point the finger at Xbox here.
No.
Because there is a development side to this where if they would have put more resources in it early, maybe they could have figured it out. Maybe they could have waited to release the game until it was ready everywhere. Maybe they couldn't financially do that. I don't know. But if you have one kind of, and I'm not gonna. I know there's one person out there. I love split screen in Baldur's Gate 3. What are you talking about? I play it all the time on PC, which is the only place it's out right now. Being like, you're an idiot, Mav. But like, I don't know. I would think like I would rather millions of people have access to my game and maybe ease myself off of a little bit of development, put my resources in other places instead of trying to get some mode to run on all this hardware that is the trouble point that I think less than 1% of people are ever going to play.
Yeah.
That's my thought there. But again, Xbox, I agree 100%. Easy for them to make that decision, and easy fix too. And it's actually easier for them to make that decision. So Xbox has, I think they should just say, hey, you know, no split screen co-op on Xbox. Only reason people will care is because of the notion that PlayStation has and Xbox doesn't, even if nobody fucking plays the mode.
Right.
Right? But if nobody had heard about this issue, if you were to tell me that it has split screen co-op, I would be surprised.
Right.
Like, only reason I know is because of this, you know?
Right.
But Larian came out and said that it's like their policy to always have that in their games.
Yeah, it's parody. Yep.
Right. Oh, well, in all of their games, they said they
all
do
their
it.
games, right? Yeah, they do. They do it all their games.
I think it's because it's like a tabletop thing for them. They're trying to create that tabletop
encouraging.
experience.
Yes.
I get that. It's just like
reality wise, it doesn't.
Reality wise, it's not necessarily what people do.
Yep. Nope. And you know, and it's funny because our chat is split on it too. I mean, again, there's Sappho and Sappho, you bring up a great point too. The better version will be on Xbox next year. In fact, depending on when it comes out, they could have the Game of the Year version by that point because it might win plenty of games of the year. And all of a sudden we get the Game of the Year on Xbox and it's got maybe potentially a DLC included, all that kind of stuff. Who knows? And maybe all the bugs are fixed. Like Sappho said, there are going to be bugs on console. I'm sure of it. There's bugs in PC right now. They're hot fixing it. It's not going to be perfect. And the Xbox players will get the best version when it launches. The balance of that is that sure, there's plenty of people that believe that. I don't buy into FOMO a lot, so I tend to buy games when they're in their best position. We've had the conversation plenty of times. Nowadays, it's almost better as a single player game to just wait on it no matter what at the end of the day. However, from a business side of things, FOMO is still real to a majority of gamers, to a lot of gamers. The hype that a game generates that causes those sales to skyrocket out the gate is a real thing. That mentality, that hive mind mentality with a game that everybody wants to be a part of the conversation when the game launches is real. Like as much as I say I don't buy into it, I still understand that works and it does happen. And the fact is both Larian and Xbox missed out here. Like Mav was pointing out, I think Larian missed out as well. I think they probably realize that, seeing the amount of pre-sales that PlayStation 5 is currently getting because of the hype.
Maybe they didn't foresee how much excitement there was going to be for this.
They didn't. Did you hear the numbers that they told the IT to expect? Did you hear this? They asked them about the 800. They asked them about the 800,000 players concurrent on Steam, right? Number.
Yeah.
And I forget who from Larian was answering it. They asked him about that, and he said, "Yeah, first of all, I'd like to apologize to my IT department. I told them to expect maybe around 100,000 concurrent players."
Wow. Yeah.
So 8 times.
For them, maybe for not releasing on different platforms at the same time was never an issue because they didn't expect this much hype for the game to begin with.
They didn't expect it to be selling like this and played like this.
Yeah, it's just I part of me hurts for them because I could and I want this game to be big, and it is becoming big.
It's huge.
If they were to have, and this is where my point is on that, if they would have launched this game day and date across PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, even if you had to just delay the split screen co-op mode and come out with it later as a patch, that would have been massive, more sales than they're already getting. I mean, you're talking about crazy amount more because the amount of excitement is about this game right now. So it's still going to get excitement on PlayStation because they don't have a lot of other games this year, and it's very different for them, and it's selling well pre-order wise and stuff, but
number one,
next, but for not releasing Xbox till next year because of this is I think there's a large market in the Xbox ecosystem for these kind of games, right?
Yep.
And it's a shame that it's not coming. I don't know. I really wish it was hitting this year.
Yeah, no, and I was gonna say, and I think they had to move it for PC to get out of Starfield's way.
Yeah,
because they understand what Bethesda games are to PC as well. again, we recognize Bethesda games more as console now than we used to, because obviously they've been around on console for a long time. Skyrim and Oblivion and Fallout's changed the perception of Bethesda being a PC mainly. But let's be real, they are still, their bread and butter is PC. That PC community, that modding community for Bethesda is gigantic. And I really think for Larian, the way that they were probably looking at things, sure, Baldur's Gate 3 was getting a lot of hype. There was a lot of people playing it. There was already a lot of people that were pre-ordering the game on PC, but they probably looked at that Starfield launch in September and said, oof, yeah, let's give ourselves a chance of a 30-day head start on Starfield, and let's see if we can pull some players in. And look what happened. It worked, right? It worked. Because again, 800,000 plus concurrent players, huge for this type of game. Larian made the right decision there, but it would, to your point, have Mav, in the best case scenario, it would have been great to see it launch on all platforms at the same time. And I can't imagine what the hype would have been had it been available for everybody everywhere. So even if the lesser consoles, it still would have been gigantic. It still would have been huge.
Yeah. But Xbox players might have to wait till 2024. And I'll put more of the onus now that, because the decision from Larian had already been made, right?
Yeah.
So regardless of that, now that that's made, as far as like, hey, we're launching with this mode no matter what, right? Xbox has got to do their part.
Yep.
Right. And to have the potential, like if it wins Game of the Year and it's a PlayStation exclusive, because by that time it's still probably not going to be on Xbox, right? According to Larian,
it's not exclusive. It's not exclusive.
Timed exclusive, but timed whatever. I know. I know what
you're saying.
I know, but it's still beyond PlayStation, not on Xbox for that time being.
Technically speaking, yes.
It kind of stings
in one place and not another.
Yeah, kind of stings a little bit. Hey, we didn't have a chance to play it. However, Xbox fans aren't going to be complaining too much because the same day it launched on PlayStation, Xbox is getting Starfield anyway.
Correct.
So it's not like, it's not like we're going to have anything to play, but like,
RPG fans are eating fucking really good this year.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. And next year. Again, next year it was already setting up too, for RPG fans with Avowed, with Dragon's Dogma 2, potentially Clockwork Revolution hitting next year as well. Like RPG fans, we are having some good times, really. So again, all things considered, like I said, the Xbox community, a lot of them are going to be playing Starfield. There's going to be those people that just aren't interested in sci-fi who would be picking up Baldur's Gate 3 if it was available. So they are going to have to wait, which is the sad part. And like you said, Mav, more so to Colt's point, just not being able to say a Game of the Year quality or potentially a Game of the Year winner is not in your ecosystem right now is, from a business standpoint, a hit, and it should not happen if you have any opportunity to prevent it, period. So,
yep.
All right, man. 3 hours, brother. Should we get everybody out of here?
Let's do it, man. Let's get everybody out of here, bro.
Hell of a show. Again, shout out to Luke Lore, aka Insipid Ghost, for spending our first 2 hours with us. Absolutely amazing guest, amazing dude. Again, just a positive light in this community. I always push those people because we have enough of the clowns, we have enough of the sideshow, the actors, the snakes. Luke is one of the good guys, and his content is freaking amazing. Like Matt pointed out, one of the best when he does his single one-on-one interviews, like dude's one of the best. And again, comes from a background where he did color commentary for Major League Soccer. If you guys didn't hear me in the intro, he did professional color commentary. Not an easy gig, and you can tell by the way he speaks. I'm always jealous when I listen to him because he is so off the cuff, but he never or rarely stumbles over his words. And you can tell that experience has helped him greatly. So just one of the best dudes out there. Go check out Luke, aka Insipid Ghost. Go check out his content. Please support him. He deserves it. But thank you, Luke, for being here. Overall, another hell of a Thursday night. Again, I love coming here, spending my time with Mav, spending my time with the chat. You guys are absolutely incredible, showing out each and every single week, even on the lighter news weeks. You guys are right here with us. Nothing but love and respect to each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. But Mav, tell everybody what you got coming up here. We got Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night, and anything else you want to throw out there, brother. What you got going?
Oh,
Mr.
man.
4K.
Mr. 4K. Yeah, we got a show tomorrow night, man. Gonna be a fun discussion. We'll talk a lot about some of the stuff we talked about today, but maybe a lot more. Friday night's Xbox Ultimate podcast, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Pong should be there as well as
Yep.
the rest of the Fun Spec fam. And then besides that, Monday's Fun Speculation podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern time here on Fun Speculation. We look ahead at the games coming for the week and also talk about more platforms as well. And then back here on Thursdays, everybody. If there's anything cool or really exciting that happens, may hop on for a Mavcast solo show occasionally or a game stream. But man, I've just been playing Baldur's Gate 3, and honestly, I'm kind of afraid to play that on stream because who knows?
Should be.
What's
You
gonna
don't know
happen.
what's going to happen.
Yeah, I like it. If it's something that's a surprise and it catches me off guard, it might be too late. At that time, it had already been on stream, So it's like, oh, and I've been surprised several times already in this game.
Yep.
So I probably ain't streaming that one. But what about you, Pong Soul?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, you guys know the drill by now. Pong Soul everywhere. Follow you back. Again, join PC. I haven't been on my Xbox, so if you followed me there, I didn't see it on Game Bar. I apologize. I will get to my Xbox eventually here. It's just been PCMR life right now with Baldur's Gate 3, and I ain't gonna lie. Outside of the crashing, outside of having to restart every once in a while because that's PC life and it ain't perfect. My God, has it been an eye-opening experience? Just freaking amazing. But in a month, I'm going to be playing both PC and Xbox Starfield. I do want to check out Starfield in 30 frames, so I'll be there. But other than that, Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night, just like Mav said, I will be there. And then, of course, Saturday morning, it is living split screen. Yes, unfortunately, tech issues crushed us last week, and we had to cancel our show. You guys know how much Steele and I hate canceling our Saturday mornings. It throws both of us off. Steele, especially when it's on his side and it's a tech issue, he hates it. He went to the IP, he went to the service provider, Cox. No pause there. That's their actual name, Cox. I don't know if you guys know about this, but that's the internet provider he's got down there. He went to them directly, tried a new modem, still didn't help, had to have a service tech come out. They supposedly fixed his line. Supposedly he's been having stable internet connection from here on out. Supposedly there was water in the line. Supposedly there was some kind of splitter that was causing problems. So whatever. We hate it, but we're back this week, living split screen. 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, split screen, all one word. We are still on Mission 1K. We're getting closer and closer every single week. But join us, tell a friend, bring a friend. We will be there with the energy that you need to get your weekend started right. And then, of course, Saturday nights, it's the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel, Fuzzy Belvedere, and myself are all there. We usually have a guest. I don't know if PTK announced guests this week or not. I can't remember. Anyways, be there 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. We normally do have guests, but it doesn't matter if it's the three amigos or more. We always end your Saturday night the right way. And then, of course, next week it starts all over again. You know that. Xbox Factor Tuesdays, Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick, Mr. 13K, one of the best in the business. Be there 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. All good things green every Tuesday. Xbox Factor podcast. It's always got a great panel. And then Thursday night, right back here with my brother from another, Mr. Mav, on the Fun Speculation Network with PM and the PM. Listen, y'all, it's the golden age of gaming. Wherever you are, whatever you're playing, something for you right now. And there's just more coming. And again, we just hinted at it. We'll be talking about it closer to the end of the year. 2024 could potentially be like this year as well. My God, we're in for a lot. Get out there, play what you love. Love what you play. And I'm going to talk to you all real soon. Mav, get us out of here, brother.
Have a great night, everyone. Take it easy.
Thank y'all.